Hey,
Hello, excited utterance here, and we
Hello.
have DALI talk, and we
yes.
have Roll the Deep End. Yay!
Hello.
It's
The
an
How
puppy
important
is
is
everyone?
day.
somewhere.
Mm, it's a very important
Awesome.
day. And Bronze is here. Hello,
Awesome.
Yes.
and we have Eris. Thank you, Eris, for doing all the things that you
Oh, thank you.
do. You are wonderful. And yes, it's an important day in Pursehouseville because it's that day.
Yes.
Closing arguments, and I think we're on verdict watch, aren't we?
Yes. Yeah, no
Are we
news
going to have
that
a
I've seen
live?
yet.
Is live verdicts likely? Oh, sorry, not. Yeah, is
I
live
believe
verdict
it
going to
is.
come from the courthouse? Do we know
Yeah, I have
if
the
it
feed.
comes? We have. Yeah, sweet.
I
Okay,
have a
great. So,
supposed feed.
okay,
I'm just guessing, guys. So the plan was that I was going to go to the party, but I don't know if there's a front coming through or what.
Okay.
And so my leg is being all the interesting. So I'll hang out here for as long as I can. And Mr. Mo will probably take over party duty. So I might stay a little longer, but
Okay.
yay,
Well,
it is what it
stay as
is.
long as you can.
I am learning to listen to my body and
awesome.
all that zen-y stuff. Except those screaming bowls have to go. When I go full Darth Vader, those are I will be right back. 1 second. Mr.
Sure.
Mo is calling.
Cool. Awesome. So, yes. So, if here's the deal: if a verdict starts to come in and we are doing the closing arguments, you know what? Yeet,
Yeah,
and we
we'll
go
go to the
over to
verdict.
verdict. But it'll have to obviously I think they give us a little bit of warning that verdict is coming. So
30 minutes to
like
45.
yeah, so we kind of watch and we keep
Yeah.
watching closing
So
arguments
if you
until
guys
it's
see
like
anything,
happening.
if
Yeah,
you guys see
let us
anything on
know.
Twitter, let us know.
Yep, go
I'll
knock
try to
knock
keep
knock
an eye
knock
of it.
knock. There you go. Excited. Hello, Charlie. Hello, Mo. Hello. And we need to swap things around, and I need to put the theme bob on because you know what? This is the last day. I think we get to use that.
Yes.
But we do get to use our sounds
Very
still
true.
because you know what? We're not ditching the sounds. The sounds are great,
Yeah,
and the sounds are good for trivia as well.
they are.
They are. They are fantastic. So
Okay.
everybody, welcome, 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 welcome. It's so
Yeah.
great to have Mo here for this as well. Um, and poor Mr. Pursehouse, it's not looking good for him.
Poor,
But
poor little
just
fella.
hello, Farrell.
Hey,
Um,
Cheryl dear.
oh
Oh, thank you
yay,
guys.
Baker rate coming. Sweet.
Yay.
Yay, that's wonderful.
So yes.
I was just going to say the closing arguments were far more heated and involved than we thought they would be. I
They're
mean,
what?
it's not, they were far more heated and
Heated?
involved than
Oh,
we thought.
I didn't. I only saw
Um,
a little bit of the states opening.
well, I saw the whole thing and
Okay.
whoa,
Hmm.
this is spicy.
Okay.
So, Mo, how much did you run of the
Of the
arguments?
state,
Yeah.
I got to the end of the state.
Okay.
Cool.
So I did think the state did a really good job of explaining how the law is and kind
Yeah.
of these terms that we take for granted because we are law nerds and we have had kind of
Yeah.
the
Been
blessing
educated.
and kind of yeah, we've had the experience, we've had the opportunity to sit here and let people, you know, law people actually explain to us, what circumstantial evidence means. It
Yes.
doesn't mean that, oh my gosh, they didn't have anything. It means
Yeah.
they had a ton of evidence versus, what does this mean? So he did it in a very conversational and style that I think really worked. My big gripe is that I hate PowerPoints that have full sentences on them. I
Mm,
find that annoying. I'm like, why
mm,
not just write a paragraph and hand me a paper?
exactly. What's the
But
point? Yeah.
but that is beyond the point. I think he hit all the parts. I think he really honed in on what was so offensive to the defense really was the kind of shifting of blame onto everyone else. It was,
Yeah.
incumbent upon Amie to deal with his feelings. It was, the ambulance people weren't hustling enough to get her to the hospital. The, roommate didn't do enough. It again kind of shifted the blame off of everyone but this, man baby person.
Yeah.
And it was really quite offensive when you think about it. And
Oh, thank you, David.
his utter lack of remorse I hadn't seen the jailhouse calls because I'd been sort of in and out and doing the news thing.
It was bad.
So yeah, the utter lack of that, the kind of texting other people to set up alibis. I don't understand why he didn't take a plea deal at this point.
I know.
I mean, they would have. They only would have offered murder 1, which is life.
Yeah, but he's still he.
I mean, you wouldn't have to put up with all this.
Well, he could have been he could have been less of an unrelenting douche.
Yeah.
For 5 minutes of his life. I mean, in theory.
Thank you, Lefty.
Welcome to the only stream that's going to be on much longer than worth watching. What are you talking about, Lefty?
Now, did in the Baker Raid chat, did they come up with a verdict yet, or are you guys still on verdict watch? I'm trying to keep up with all the trials, but there's only like
so many
Odinist Pulse and paint drying experts. And
that was a good trial though. But
I know.
could only watch some of it.
Yeah, we get stuck with what we thought was going to be cool smexy times, and it ends up being. But when did you say you came home?
Do I?
Fix that. Fix it.
Crap, I do. Thank you.
Fix it.
I will.
Okay,
I'm
so they went home for the night in Boston already? Because it's only, 4 o'clock? But
4:40.
Joey was sent home. Oh, really?
Yeah,
that's no fun. So,
well,
what they need a Becky. They need a Becky to say, stay the hell there. You can't smoke. You can't do anything. You can't go home. Just come up with the damn verdict. Find him guilty and let's get this done on the road.
They need a me when I'm having a bad pain day. I'm going to tell everyone what the hell to do. The boys know. They're like, yes, Mom, we'll knock on the door now. Because I'm like, boys, for the love of all that is Cheetos, the door shut means something. I'm going to get a light.
and don't believe him. And look at his body language. Look at him. Look at the way he looks down.
Yeah.
He's a murderer.
Yeah. Well, I am anxious to see who they pull for if they're going to go Doogie Howser or Helen Lovejoy, because I find both of them equally annoying. But for
think of the
reasons.
children. What does anyone think of the children?
Yeah. I mean, I had hoped that when Doogie had thoroughly pissed off the judge that Helen would be better, but she was just as offensive in a different way. She's like, but didn't you leave the gate open for Amazon people? Like, well, yeah, no, she definitely left she left the gate open for Amazon. She definitely meant to get, unalived, as you do.
As one does.
Cat food delivery and, unconsensual talking and struggle hugs as one always asks for. It was.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll go ahead
anyway, I suppose we'll just watch the closing arguments then. We're officially on verdict watch.
Yes.
But you never know. They might have a epiphany in the middle of the night, all of them at once, and go, let's hurry into the room. Let's go.
Absolutely.
Not in the middle of the night. It's the daytime. But
don't worry, Chloe. Oh, thank you, though.
You just never know.
So let's begin.
But we will watch this. That's good.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I want to, before I get into everything, I just want to take an opportunity to thank you all sincerely on behalf of the defense team, because of the week we were dark with illnesses, and you've all been so patient and so attentive and so willing to stick with us. We're all
always
both
looks
sides
great,
extremely
this woman.
appreciative of that. So thank you for that.
How are you, Irish?
This case boils down to a very simple question. Why did Gareth Pursehouse go to 2086 Mount Street on February 14th, 2020?
That's nice, him, Dad. Hey, say hi to Baker back.
Hey, Mimsy.
Hello, Mimsy.
Whoops, already technical problem.
Great. It's like Dave doing an opening or cross-examination.
I have so much I need to say. Please give me a chance to explain it so I can reflect.
The answer is clear. He went there because he was desperate to talk to Amie Harwick.
Aw.
Oh,
Why did he need to speak to her so desperately?
He was the big sad. All
Well, you've
capital
heard a lot of evidence in
letters.
this case.
Bold.
Yeah, sad.
You've had a
Sad
chance
face.
to see Amie Harwick's email to herself describing her
Deep
encounter
condition
with
your
Mr.
hair,
Pursehouse
ma'am.
at the Exposition
Hey.
Awards. You've had an
Ooh.
opportunity
Hayden
to
Harris,
hear
I
from
don't
many
think I know you
witnesses
either.
Good Lord.
told
Welcome.
about the encounter and included details she hadn't included in her email.
Do you own a comb,
You had
man?
an opportunity to see Gareth
I think her
Pursehouse's
hair looks
text
good.
message to
It's a
Amie
little
Harwick.
strainy.
Yeah,
All
but
of
not
this
yet. Usually it looks just
Undeniable picture
perfection.
of the extreme pain Mr. Pursehouse, Gareth Pursehouse, was experiencing after his breakup with Amie Harwick back in 2012.
He had 9 years to
He struggled.
process.
In all those intervening years, to deal
True,
with the
he
daily
did have
pain
9
that he
years.
described to her in those text messages.
Wasn't enough
It was
for
a
it.
struggle he tried to control.
I'm not trying to be a.
He made efforts to get his equilibrium, and he managed to. He dated other women. He was
He
successful.
did. He did date other women.
And he had a lot. A
He
good life.
dated all the women's.
Boy, it
He
looks
had a
like he's on. He
of,
looks like he's at the
romance in
Nuremberg
his
trial.
life, but it fell short in his estimation. It was nothing compared to the relationship he had with Amie Harwick. And
Hayden,
he
I'm
described it to her.
sorry.
He said that he shared everything with her
Really?
during their relationship. And they forged a deep intimacy,
Oh,
one that he couldn't replicate.
no, your name's
with
starting to
anybody
look
else.
familiar. Oh, hey, Shelley.
Ew. I
So
don't wanna
when
know
Amie
about
Harwick
that.
It must
walked
be
into
like
the
a profile
Awards
pic, Hayden.
on that fateful day in January, and he
Hey,
saw her
Jane.
for the first time in all those
It's
years
just not sticking.
after the restraining order had
Hey, Bill.
expired years previously.
Are you ever in my
And
chat,
through no
Hayden?
fault of his own, there she was.
You just
It
found
landed
us recently.
like a sucker punch on
Oh.
him. And it literally brought him to his knees.
and everyone, if you could like and subscribe to both of us. We're dual streaming this. Excited Utterance and DALI Talk.
Yes.
So yeah, go like and subscribe my channel, and the link is in the comments pinned for EU's channel. And like and subscribe as well. We'd really
Yeah.
appreciate it. Also, Mo in the deep
Thank
end
you.
too.
Even
Yeah,
if
if
you
you
don't
feel
like
like
me
it.
now, Hayden, because I've ignored you and keep saying I don't know you.
I'm a mouthy redhead from the Midwest.
He
So
curled
I
up
like
in the fetal
branch and
position in this
Oh,
crowded
Hayden.
red carpet area.
You're a girl.
in front of
That's a
peers,
lovely name for a girl.
coworkers, strangers.
I'm sorry if I've insulted you. I
It
really
was something he
Oh.
could not
I'm a
control.
nice person.
Sure.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is something
Oh,
we
it's another
cannot
way.
deny. All of the evidence in this case undeniably establishes that Gareth Pursehouse was suffering a
Feel
great
mum. I
emotional
also have not
upheaval,
met you.
one that interfered with his thought process, one
Thank you
that
for being in my
focused him
chat.
like a laser on getting relief from this unrelenting pain. And the only person he thought could help him, that could release him, was Amie Harwick.
Where
And why
is her
that?
PowerPoint?
Because when he saw her
You-
and she spoke to him, it was cathartic. He was able to let that facade open.
Aw.
The emotions he'd
Well,
repressed
can we pause
so long
it
surfaced.
for just a
And he
second?
cried.
Oh, I can't
And
pause.
he
Yeah.
cried some
He's doing
more.
it.
All right. As official Petty Patch and Petty Empress of the Pettyverse, I and owner of a freaking uterus and all the flippin' hormones. This is more girl emotional crap than a teenage hormonal girl on like preteen Tuesday. What the hell? This is more feelings than like a Lifetime movie on Hallmark Channel.
Teenage girl who got her first period.
Yeah, what? For the love of all that's holy, y'all broke up. It's Is it time for whiteboard of truth? All right.
Yes.
Let me narrate some things with the whiteboard of truth.
Go for it.
Now, I would like to caveat this with we are at about a 6 or 7, so we're a whole lot closer to truthness here. But they dated what, 2009, 2010
ish.
And they met again, I think 2 years ago.
10 years later.
Yeah, okay. So 2020. All right. Now, this intervening time was processing time. If you couldn't get your big boy underoos on in this particular amount of time, then that's a you problem. Not a her problem. Big boy panty times, you problem. You had 10 daggone years, sir. And again, with the feelings and not having a uterus, I need you to, like, holy cow. Again, with all the feelings, were there no therapists in California? Because I've heard that there are no therapists in California. I heard that Amie was the only one. I heard that they had none. There's no Google.
They've got no
It's not like he knew how to work
therapists.
computers.
Yeah. Yeah, he's other. Well, I feel bad for him, but that's just me. Thankfully, the restraining order wasn't still in effect, or this would have been really bad.
Yeah. It's the defense that they're using that I don't like. Again, had he said that, hey, I was going over there, I was going to break into her house, I was going to scare her a bit. She startled me and, things went from there. It's still dumb. I don't like it, but it's more probably along the line of a truth than I was the big sad and I had all the feels, which could have been, it's possible that two things are true at the same time, but I don't like it. There was no way that she was conscious after several punches to the eyes and a struggle hug to the neck.
Probably not.
I mean, she's the weight that I lie about to the government on my driver's license.
Yeah.
So, and he's.
Yeah. Anyways.
Hey, Melissa Jane, how's it
He's
going?
shaking. I mean,
Oh.
the descriptions that we've gotten from Amie Harwick and her friends establish a man in a crisis.
We need to find that video.
The prosecution claims he was trying to force his way back into her life. That
How's
couldn't be
it
further
going?
from the truth. He was trying to cope with the fallout of Amie Harwick walking back into his life.
Yeah.
He didn't ask
How
for that.
dare she?
Yeah, how
Yeah,
dare she
right.
exist?
Yeah,
Damn
how
her.
dare
How-
Real
she
How
exist
tall
and
am
run
I?
into him?
lifeline.
Oh.
The evidence in this case shows
I
both the
am
internal
166
Mr.
centimeters.
Pursehouse was going through, as
Oh.
well
I
as
don't know
how he
what that
externally
means.
presented to other people as a result of the manifestation of his emotional crisis.
I'm a
So I'm
hobbit.
going to want to go through some of the evidence in this case that shows the state of mind Mr. Pursehouse was in. But before we get to that, I want to talk about this jury instruction. This is Calcrim 303, and this is very important because you received a lot of state of mind evidence in this case.
A
And it's very
hobbit.
important you understand the limitations to the state of mind.
No, they had broke up like a year,
2018.
2 years before.
Mm.
But they were still friendly. And because Amie had a really hard time adjusting to the fame and the paparazzi and everything. So it's kind of, it came between them and they broke up. But like 2 days before this, Drew Carey reached out to her. She reached out to Drew Carey. And they were going to meet up. Sadly, that never happened.
No, he did a whole 2020 interview about it.
Yeah.
Like, why? I don't know. Just like
Yeah.
waiting for a good interview with her, I suppose.
I need to figure out how to do
Because
sounds.
that
I'll
I'm jealous now.
show you some websites. You can download them. It's
Awesome.
yeah, it's just a
evidence
matter
is
of
only
like
admitted
finding
for a
them.
limited purpose. So let me be clear on what that purpose is.
Oh,
By
mine.
first going through
Look
the
at
instructions.
Ellen.
During the trial, evidence of Amie Harwick's email to herself and statements to friends related to her fear of the defendant, Gareth Pursehouse, are being admitted for a limited purpose to show her then state of mind that she was in fear of the defendant, that she would not have consented to him entering her home and would not have consented to him lying in wait. You may not consider this evidence you may consider that evidence only for that purpose and for no other.
It is
So
tall
you
for a
cannot use
kangaroo.
this evidence in any way to decide whether or not Gareth Pursehouse intended her harm.
Because it'd be really
All
bad
of her
for my client.
statements about her fear, how he might, in her mind, have intended her
Devastating.
harm, those are not something you can consider in assessing Mr. Pursehouse's state of mind or his intentions.
Oh,
That
you
being
see.
said, let's move on to Amie Harwick's email to herself. It might be a little hard to read, but I'm going to highlight certain parts of this. She describes, the first encounter, how Gareth came
Do
up
not
behind her
come.
and started
Do not
screaming.
come.
And then she describes how he
I'm
started
gonna
looking like
come.
he was going to cry.
Do you need some
and he was
privacy?
breathing heavily and
Oh,
throwing
No,
his
it's-
arms around.
It was
And
a
she also makes a
meme
point.
from like a year
Kamala
ago.
Harris.
Yeah, she's saying, "Do not come, do not come," and then there's a clip of Trump who's just said, "I'm gonna come."
Yeah,
Too much.
well, everyone is in awe and shock of our political prowess across the
True.
globe.
Yeah, we're very respectful and professional.
Hey, this way up. How's it going?
Point of,
Hey.
that he's dysregulated in his eyes. That part is not highlighted.
Did it?
So she's describing a person whose emotions are taking over their physical body.
Oh,
He was sobbing. His head was in his hands. He couldn't sit up straight. His head was in his hands. He was hyperventilating. He was distorting his face up and shaking violently. He was shaking so hard he couldn't control it because of his emotions. He told me that he thinks about me every day, and every day he cries. He told me he lost his job when we broke up because he couldn't work. He told me
Poor
that no
thing.
matter what he did, he couldn't stop obsessing over me. He told me that I was a cheater and a liar because he thought we were still together when I believed we were broken up. So Mr.
You're
Pursehouse
wrong.
also felt there had been that Amie had cheated on him during the course of their relationship.
How dare she get another fiance?
And that was,
How
back
dare.
when they were together. And he recited text messages that she had sent from that time frame, back when they were together, about 9 years
Hey,
ago. He
Max.
recited the date, who they
Yeah,
were
that's
to.
what
and
we think
exactly
over
what was
here
said
too.
word for word.
Actually,
He said he
Kinda
wasn't
like,
able to
you
move
kind
on.
of keep electing the wrong people.
But he's dated, but nobody with me. He said he thinks about me constantly, and he can't watch the TV shows that we watched together.
That's
Hear
flattering.
the songs that we liked, or the names that we called each other, or even smell vanilla, or he has a panic attack. And all
Vanilla.
of that was before Amie Harwick walked back in his life. He's describing what his day-to-day life was
True guy.
like before that encounter at the XBiz Awards.
Have you considered therapy, sir?
Imagine what it must be like to go through
Sal, we've already
your day-to-day
established
yeah.
there are no
carrying
therapists in
burden
California other than
of
Amie.
emotions.
Okay, that
Imagine
makes
how
sense then.
exhausting that must have been.
It's
Imagine
impossible.
how hard Mr. Pursehouse would have had to work to maintain the life he established, working as a programmer, having a
Yeah,
savings of over
imagine how hard
$100,000
life was for the murderer,
and trying to
allegedly.
have a normal life, despite the heavy burden he was carrying day in and day out.
Are you flirting
He
with
goes on to say,
me?
I actually did tell him I was sorry. Sorry that things ended so terribly. Sorry that I had to take the measure of getting the
Yeah.
restraining order
See,
because I just didn't
She's
see
correct.
any other option.
we have a slight preference.
She acknowledges their relationship ended terribly. It ended with a restraining order, meaning Mr. Pursehouse couldn't contact her, and he didn't. for all those years after it even
Except
expired.
that when he broke into her apartment,
After the conversation,
allegedly.
he went back to take pictures, but he asked if they could speak later, and she told him yes. And you'll remember Hernando Chavez described the second when Mr. Pursehouse approached Amie while they were seated at their table inside the XBiz Awards ceremony. And he described how Mr. Pursehouse came over, knelt down next to Amie, and whispered in her ear. And then Amie turned to Hernando Chavez and said, I'm going to go talk to Gareth. So Amie goes on to explain that towards the end of the award show, I sat with him off to the side again as he cried and shook. He was still crying. Later in the evening, he was still that emotionally devastated that he still was not able to control his crying and his shaking. He was able to sit up straight and have more of a conversation, and they were able to clarify some things. But he couldn't stop crying, couldn't stop hyperventilating. And he'd have a moment of clarity and then just start breaking down. He said he wakes up every day and cries on the floor. He says every day he wished I was in his life. Every day for all those years.
Has he thought about getting a chia pet?
Conclude at the end of this conversation, I told him my
They're
friend
great
Hernando was
fun.
waiting for me, and I asked how he would like
Till
to
they
end this
die.
conversation.
Well, starting
for a
small
hug,
with like
And I
something
told
that
him that was not a good
he could
idea.
care about with his
He started to cry.
personality of
Mm.
Eventually, he
narcissism
walked
and
away,
then
and then
working
she
up
makes a note of him
to
walking
care
away
for
properly,
others.
and something about putting his
Mhm.
hand up as he walked away.
Well, I mean, the bitch is hot. Well,
These-
not so much now, but
These
Oh,
excerpts
did you need
and
a-
Amie Harwick's email to herself have important
Sal, do you want to
information in
stop
them.
and do a quick run through of what the
In that-
case is real quick?
Oh yeah, probably would be a good idea. Go ahead.
Oh, you want me to do it? Okay, so this case is the case of Gareth Pursehouse. He is the greasy looking specimen that you see there. Well, it'd be opposite there. He was in a relationship with Dr. Amie Pursehouse about 10 years ago. They broke up. He became controlling, did engage in some behavior that caused her to get a restraining order on him. And then they kind of fell out of contact for about 10 years. They really didn't see each other for about 10 years. She went on to get a master's degree and doctorate in, I think, family therapy, specializing in sex therapy stuff. I don't know. She became an advocate for people working in the adult film industry, mental health wise. That's where she tended to work. She was briefly engaged for about a year or two, I think, to Drew
Yeah.
Carey. Okay, a year. I didn't know how long they were in a relationship, but they were engaged for a year. She did not like all of the attention, so they broke up. Gareth and her ran into each other at the XBiz Awards, which I guess is the Adult Film Awards. Although why they don't call them the Hardys, I will never know. Because
the
that,
hottest.
honest to God, marketing people, I don't know why. Y-
Yeah.
It
That's
yes.
great.
So he basically he was there to do
Photography.
photography, and she was there, I guess, to kind of not break into the industry, but to increase her advocacy and get more mental health awareness. Because thinking about it, I'm sure people in that industry would have a hard time looking for mental health, seeing as she is the only therapist in California. Now, he has a total mental breakdown, turns into snot bubble crying Gareth, apparently, and accuses her of ruining his entire life. Now, this is witnessed by several people that were brought on stand. 2 weeks after that, she has increased her security as much as she possibly can. It is Valentine's Day. She goes out with friends.
To a
He
Drag
decides to
thing.
what?
To a drag event.
They go to a burlesque event, I
Yeah.
believe. Look,
With
they go
a
out.
tranny that Dave
They-
finds attractive.
They go out. with people. She gets dressed up. He decides to go out without a tactineck or anything and shorts, and then proceeds to like look directly into the Ring cameras as he is going to break in to her
And
house
before he covers them up.
to talk to her, just
Yeah.
to talk to her because he is the big sad. He also takes a syringe full of 100% nicotine, again, because he is the big sad, and he alleges that he is going to delete himself in front of her if he doesn't get to talk to her. According to him, she comes home, she gets startled or something. They engage in struggle hugging. Somehow she gets a little struggle hugged in her neck, but she survives that, parkours herself like Super Spider-Man onto the side of the balcony to get away from him because she used to take dance lessons once. I think she took a class once. It was, I think, Zumba. I don't know. And then, unfortunately, Butterfingers, she falls off the balcony. And what is a Gareth to do but run away, crying, as always.
Of course.
But really, he can only be guilty of robbery, as my youngest, most feral would
Hey,
say.
David.
So
David,
the defense
come
is
on, come in.
the defense's
Party.
basic premise, in all seriousness, is that he was sad. He went over just to talk. He did break in, but everything else was kind of victim of circumstance. Sarah Boone, unintentional, and Daryl Brooks, look what she done made me did.
Yeah.
He's gonna go milk his horse.
Sexy.
I am
Oh,
not
nice.
going to question any of that.
Okay. Is that what the kids?
Godspeed. You know what? I just learned what soaking is from the Jodi Arias case.
That was
I'm
epic.
questioning nothing.
Oh, he told us about that yesterday.
I had to tell Mr. Mo because I was like, if I have to know this, you have to know this. We are
Yeah.
all suffering
Yeah.
together. Welcome to marriage.
Should we just do it? Hang on a minute. I'll see if I can just bring her YouTube up. Amie Harwick. YouTube.
I mean, the saddest part for me about this case, though, is that this woman did everything right. She filed the restraining order. She did the best that she could to defend herself.
In
I mean, she
California.
wrote herself emails, documented his emotional instability, all that. And what is this? I'm trying to make sense of what MLS is saying.
Oh, the third for the Provo push is the person who jumps on the bed.
Oh,
God.
no, thank you.
Come on, be a bro.
There are some levels of friendliness that the Hallmark cards that must be in Utah, like the thank you notes, I can only imagine. Like, thanks for being our jumper. Like, do you get someone a Starbucks gift card after that? Like, what do you?
Yeah.
What are the etiquette gifts? I need I have questions and I need answers for the Emily post on that.
DALI, do you want me to just bump this to stage for a second?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, so this is her,
Yes.
right? And her YouTube channel is still up. Like, you can go and learn relationship skills from her if you want. This is relationship
she's
skills
clearly
that
an
you can
expert.
learn from BDSM kink. And there we go.
And they're not
Family
bad.
therapist and sex therapist, and today we're going to talk about BDSM skills. Oh, I bet you sound very excited when you hear that, but no, not the fun stuff. We're actually going to be talking about emotional communication and relationship
It's very important.
skills that people in the BDSM community and that participate in BDSM
Have somebody
activities
help build you
actually
back
become
up afterwards.
experts at. So I'm going to help teach you what those are, and you can apply them to your own relationship.
Yeah. So,
So a quick
I've
overview.
actually watched the video
BDSM
and it's
stands
actually
for
really
bondage,
good.
Discipline.
it's not bad.
No, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, but the boundary stuff, and I want to say this right up front, that Gareth's behavior is terrible, but it would also be terrible from a woman if they were doing this towards a man. Well, should Jody Hildebrandt really be coaching women with marriage to men?
Correct. I don't know. She has 2.41 subscribers. You 2.41 thousand subscribers. You think she'd have more now?
Yeah, this
If you
could be a
think
good
that
watch
her-
party.
You'd think she'd have like 100,000 in the last
I know.
Well,
week, 2 weeks, but no. Anyway,
well,
Yeah.
you can-
not
you can
everyone
push that
are
off the,
trial nerds.
Okay.
You'd be surprised when I start talking to people in Walmart and they're like, "You do what for a living?"
Huh.
I'm like, I
Hmm.
follow trials and I make fun of people
But not
and I
for
have
a
a petty
living.
patch. I was like, I'm just semi-competent though.
Well, I got a few Cash App donations that I really appreciate.
Yeah. I've made maybe $100.
Yeah. I mean,
But-
yeah.
Look,
I made
I'm
200,
working
but
on
100
being-
of it was for
Hatchery,
dick
Mo.
pics.
Look, I'm working on being professional-ish. I'm still waiting
Yeah.
on my Sarah Boone money. I'm
Yeah.
waiting on
know.
my racket money.
I may have
Anyway.
spent a lot more on the trivia game, but it was worth it, damn it. Hey, Jungle Mink, Shelley.
In these
If you insist.
clips, we hear about Mr. Pursehouse regrets. His regrets about his relationship with Amie. But he did not have an opportunity to fully articulate himself that day. Why? Because he was in a very emotionally disturbed state. He was shaking, he was crying.
No, I haven't. But Maz, I pay for premium YouTube, so I'm hoping I don't get anything.
Without having an opportunity to fully express himself, Mr. Pursehouse reached out to Amie Harwick by text message. Oh, before we get to that, let's talk about Amie Harwick's description of Gareth to her friends. The prosecution made a point in their opening argument earlier today of saying this was a tantrum. But Marcy Mendoza made a point to say, no, that's not what Amie said, not a tantrum. She said he went crazy, he was erratic, he broke down. And Sarah Rowland said, Amie said he went a little crazy, he was triggered, he got into the fetal position on the ground, he was crying and reciting text messages.
If only we could play Celine Dion, My Heart Will Go On, without getting struck.
So he
Well, we
starts,
could try.
I interneted your number, recognize it now that I see it, if I'm
Where's my
allowed.
tissues? This is too difficult for
And
me.
then there's a series of the letter
I have no
P,
idea where it's
and
from.
Mr.
I'll line
Pursehouse
read.
tries to use humor. If this is an awkward, emotional
This
situation,
is all too much.
yes, we shall all pee. And she responds, oh wow, my text was left open and I'm on a call, sorry. And smiley face. He says, so you're not really into talking about pee now. She says, I'm glad we had a chance to speak last night. It sounds like we both needed to express and hear some things from the other person. And he continues to joke, just sometimes pee, got it. I'm sometimes why. And then referring to her text, yeah, I will do. I slept
And
well,
sometimes why?
almost an hour at 7 a.m.
What is? I
So we had
am.
a sleepless night. And I'm right now
Well-
listening to a phone conference, literally about organizing psych articles for the rapists. Now, we're going to get to know
What?
Mr. Pursehouse's sense of humor. He likes to play wordplay. And if you put the word the rapists together into one word,
It's therapist.
the word therapists.
Oh my God. He got that from Girl Interrupted. He's not even a good.
Thank you.
I used to own the
She
domain
says, I think it was really
lovingtherapist.com.
good that we were able, wait, let's see. He says, not sure if you're done because you said, how do we finish this now, last night? But if we can meet again, and she says, I think
Over
it
the
was really
balcony.
good that we were able to speak last night. I'm sure there's
Thank
a
you,
lot
Shelley.
more that you want to process and say to me. So she acknowledges, she realizes, yes, he didn't have a full opportunity to process
He
everything.
had
you know,
3
being so
damned
caught off guard
hours
that
and
way.
9 damned years. What
And
the
that there were
hell
still
more
things
does
he
he
wanted to say to her.
want?
But
Her
for Amie,
firstborn child?
that's
I hope
not what
whoever
she
hired him
and
asked
that's
for a
fine.
refund.
And there's no blame to Amie for her choice or her setting of boundaries. No one can attest that was within her right, and that was an appropriate thing for her
Eris,
to
that's
do.
the sign of a good chat.
She says, I think that was a lot for both of us. I hope you were able to hear that.
One direction
Hear me
for a
last night.
chat.
when I said that I was sorry for anything that caused you suffering and
And
that I forgive you.
now
for
you're
the
all going to
things
be
that you
singing
did to
One
me.
Direction songs.
I think right now it's best to have some space, and I don't mean that in a negative way. The past is sad and triggering for both of us. I think we ended
used the
our
word
talk last night
triggering.
well. We can be civil from a
I don't
distance,
like the word triggering.
respect each other, and move forward with our own lives.
It annoys me.
It does.
And Mr. Pursehouse
It's like when
responds,
people say
"So
trigger
you're still
warning.
just gone,"
Just say
which
content.
is exactly my nightmare. And sadly what I expected. So you're
It's
still
like-
just gone, which is, I'm sorry.
You're saying
But
that
it
I'm
feels
going
the
to be
same as
triggered.
when I wrote you
No, that's
a long
content
list of
in
what
there.
I would miss about you.
All right. You
And
may
heard
or may
nothing.
not like the content.
Just reaching out
Whatever.
into the darkness, trying to stop falling. I wish I could do something more, but reaching out to you is a crippling action that I had actually contemplated several times
Indeed,
over the past
Shelley.
few months, just to say to you the word help. Admitting to you
Aw.
how hurt I am is so embarrassing and painful, which demolishes me even more because it used to be. I told you every detail about myself.
Oh my God.
No matter what.
Music's so sad.
Because
I
what
swear
he's
this sounds
saying
like
here
my
is
15-year-old
that he needs
daughter's
help.
text
He knew it
messages to
before he
her
saw it.
girlfriends.
He even thought about reaching out to her before he
No,
saw her,
I-
but he restrained himself.
I
He
swear
did
this
not.
could be from a group chat.
And
You know what?
he knows.
You know what
that
this sounds
isn't
like?
right.
What?
Have you
He shouldn't be in
heard
this
Mark
emotional
Jensen's
state. That's why he needs help.
speech
And that's why
to
he's
Judge
embarrassed that it's
Milasakis,
so painful.
trying
Oh,
to
yeah.
He
get,
can't get past this.
yeah,
And it
Parole?
demolishes
Trying to
him
get
have
parole.
to acknowledge this to her. He's not
that's
manipulating
the
her.
music that goes with
He's
this.
revealing
Okay,
his darkest
so
When I
secret.
can we
played-
pause it a bit? Chat, how do you feel about the optics of them using Helen Lovejoy to sell this?
We can't
Do
use
you
the
think
man.
that Doogie Howser would have done a better job?
No, you need a woman to fight for him.
Yeah, you need a
Yeah,
woman
but
to fight
this
for him because,
woman,
well,
It's
any,
better than the man.
any woman's better than Clark Kent because
Yeah.
Clark Kent over there, he's just a little boy in a
he's
suit.
smugly.
Yeah.
He is
That's where
smugly.
female lawyers have a big advantage because they can really tear into a witness where some males wouldn't be able to get away with it.
They have some advantages, but
Some.
but they also do just get trampled over by some judges.
Well,
Like
It is
for
harder to be a
example,
woman judge.
yeah,
the problem I will say here is she optically has a hard time selling this dual position where she's totally within her rights to set boundaries, but poor Gareth over here was very sad, and you know she blocked him off. What was he to do but
I
to
know.
find no other therapist in California? To I mean,
no, none.
they have crap facts to work with. I mean, Marley was dead to begin with. The fact pattern in this case stinks to high heaven for them.
Yeah. Anyway.
What online? What are you saying online? It has to be the one making the argument that this man maybe had some emotional claim on Amy's attention
Yeah.
after a decade. Yeah.
I mean, if a man did it, it would just, I mean, it's not going to work, but
It-
for
it-
like if
not at
I
all.
was to do it compared to you, I mean, it would at
I
least,
still I almost find it more offensive that she's doing it though.
That
I'd
is
rather
true.
the man do it because at least the man, I'm like, okay, you know what, he just doesn't get it. But the
Yeah.
fact that they're using her as a token, kind of like shield, like a Mott and Bailey, like, you know,
Yeah.
they're using her femaleness as a shield so they can go out and hit at it at the same time. It really does. Oh yeah,
It's kind of like a female
he's
lawyer
totally
arguing
innocent.
the skirt is too short.
MLS. There were no other therapists in California. You don't
No.
understand. He
Yeah.
could not find any. He did not know how to work a computer.
No. And
Well, I mean-
totally they were getting it on
Yeah.
that night.
It was
Totally.
a struggle hug. He thought it was her, you know, it was
And she
dark.
jumped.
Yeah.
It was dark. He had peed in the corner. It was all sorts of shenanigans everywhere.
Really.
Just
This whole thing, it's a trumped up charge.
Absolutely.
He's a patsy for the state.
He has Mads admitted to manslaughter, basically.
they moved the beads. They moved the beads, you guys.
Yep.
Oh, thank you,
That-
Eris.
What's Always Sunny? Oh yeah, apparently there's a watch party. Is it tonight?
It's a great show.
Okay. Cool.
Okay, back
Tonight
to
being my afternoon.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was fun. Keep
I
going.
was about to say we're gonna beat Baker with the amount of. Unfortunately, I am on a tangent. All
I
the
know.
ADHD squirrels today for some reason, so I am very sorry.
It's all right. I'm just happy Diamondbacks won. That's all that matters.
Oh, right. That happened,
Oh.
did it?
One game closer to the
Oh,
playoffs.
here we go. It's not over yet.
I don't know how busy you are, he says, and it truly scares me so much more than I can possibly convey.
Probably
to say
find out
this.
Friday or Saturday.
Please don't vanish on me. Please, please don't let
Is
me
he
go through that
frozen?
again.
Or is that just
He's
his
begging her.
demeanor?
That's
No.
his resting
vanish.
state. He's
He's
recharging.
begging her for a
Right.
chance to talk to her.
He's
And when
like
she doesn't respond,
let's-
he leaves the voicemail message that we heard.
he's a
beginning of the-
Hang
Bulbasaur
on.
waiting to become a Charizard or whatever the hell his next Pokemon
Ivysaur.
thing is. Okay, there you
Gareth is
go.
consumed
He's
by
just
emotions
in
and
that
crisis.
chrysalis state.
All of these emotions that we've described.
He's a
exact
kakuna.
hallmark types of emotions
I'm going to
that
turn off
prevent
the
a person from delivering
overlay for a second so we can see if
when you
the.
look at the
Oh no,
elements
hang on.
of first degree murder.
Is the bailiff moving? Can you
These
see
are
his belly moving?
terms
Yeah.
Amie and her friends used
Okay.
to describe
I think
Gareth.
so.
Dysregulated,
Yeah, just on
out of
blink.
control,
Okay.
crying, breathing heavily,
Oh yeah, someone moved.
ventilating, shaking violently,
Wow, he is a statue.
panic attacks, couldn't stop crying. I mean, everything that you go through. This shows a man in an
Okay,
emotional.
Harris, I met my ex in 2019 playing, I guess the music can still carry on for this story. I met my ex in 2019 playing Pokemon. And I'm out with my friends. It's community day. We're playing Pokemon. There's this really cute girl. Looks kind of like you actually.
Not bad. You do have
She's
a tie.
by herself playing Pokemon. So I quickly hide my phone and go joking, well, I'm not playing Pokemon. Like, I'm not a loser. Well, she thought I was calling her a loser. And then she all of a sudden got really cleany and started following me around. There were a few
Al,
warning
we need to
signs.
work on warning signs for you. You need like you need a guardian ad litem for dates.
It was not good. Yeah. Insecurity issues might have been present.
You're
Maybe.
saying there were signs.
I got her phone number by insulting her, basically.
Well, some of the best things happen.
And
It
then his own
worked.
words. This is my nightmare. I'm reaching out into
Is that the end of the
darkness,
story?
trying to stop falling.
Oh,
Reaching out is a crippling
That was
action.
quick.
Help. He's embarrassed. It's painful. He's demolished. And he's afraid. The intensity of his feelings frightened him. So of course they frightened Amie Harwick. Of course. Please don't let me go through that again. Don't just vanish.
God damn it, Dave.
Please call me. Now, the prosecution wants to trivialize all of this. They want to pick it apart and take it out of context
Could have been
in
the
a
next
way
Jody
to
Arias.
prevent you from using it as it's intended to be used to show Mr. Purshouse's state of mind, to show why he
Green
went
floor.
to 2086 Mountain, and to show that he was not thinking clearly.
Oh dear.
He was in a genuine emotional crisis. Now, those text messages that we looked at, I want to remind you that those text messages did not become available until late 2021. This case was filed in February of 2020. Gareth Purshouse's phone was immediately taken to that Orange County Regional Computer Forensic Lab to be examined. Amie Harwick's was not. It was simply brought to the LAPD. They couldn't open it because it was pass protected. And then, for some reason, the LAPD didn't even bother to go into that phone until after the preliminary hearing.
Yes, Nellie
in
Max,
late
what's your question?
2021. So when these
How you
charges were
make it in the
filed,
treehouse,
when we had the
David?
preliminary hearing, we did not have the benefit of Mr.
Is that
Purshouse's
why you're not
state of
coming
mind
on stream,
evidence.
David?
He's milking a horse.
Well, the timeline speaks for itself, ladies and gentlemen.
Good question. Very good question. Maybe he's waiting for a donation
Prosecution
in
is
order to get
claiming
naked.
that Gareth was trying to, I can't remember exactly the word they used, but something to cover up his crime by engaging with Natasha Paulson and Angela G. But what they don't tell you, and what is obvious if you paid attention to the evidence, is that Gareth Pursehouse was trying to resume his equilibrium when he reached out to Natasha Paulson and Angela G was trying to have relationships with them.
Well, I always
trying
try
to
to bang
resume-
other chicks when I get done,
obvious-
unaliving other
Showed
chicks.
up at her
That's
house
what I do
still,
to resume my
under the
equilibrium.
emotions.
Resuming
described to her.
equilibrium.
He'd
Yeah,
been
that's
suffering
a good one.
since they broke up.
I use my old noggin.
He uses his other noggin.
So after seeing Amie, Gareth tried to recover his fragile equilibrium, but he was consumed by his emotions. This was not an attempt for him to cover up a crime. How would that cover up a crime? Texting with somebody over. There's a huge gap in the text between Natasha Paulson and Gareth Pursehouse. It doesn't even look like an attempt to try to show he was engaged in anything other than being at her home with that time gap. There's no attempt to cover up where he was in those text messages. And reaching out to
I'm still
Angela G,
waiting for the
Angela
footage.
G, the day, February 15th, the day he ultimately was arrested.
Sal,
Nothing
this is
unusual
looking a
about
lot
that.
like Schindler's
sad, she
List,
said.
and
She
with
said she
the
wanted
judge,
to him
I'm
when he
just
comforted her when
saying.
she was sad. And
Look, I'm
he
making
suggested they
weird
go to a firing range.
associations today.
Can't
Don't
believe this
they
entire
laid down,
trial I
he
didn't
and
think
she-
of Schindler's List.
with somebody who was into guns, but for some reason on that
Sal,
day,
we should not
he
be on a
suggested they go to
street
the firing
together.
range.
Uh,
Prosecution also claims
he chose Amie
Gareth Pursehouse was reacting out of anger
over his
when
current
he
Tinder
arrived
date.
at 86 Mound, that he had this whole thing planned out, that he went there with the intention to kill Amie Harwick, that he went there with the intention to murder her. So where's the anger in those messages? He's supplicant towards her. He's
I
asking
don't know.
if I
Where's
may.
the anger? Maybe the
He's not
throat
aggressive with her.
hug.
He's not saying he's entitled to anything. He's just telling her how vulnerable he is and how needy he is. Something that's difficult for him to do, but he did it.
I think it's pretty easy for him to do.
If he was angry at her for being blocked, his text messages being blocked, then why wouldn't that anger have surfaced all those years ago when she got a restraining order against him?
Why didn't he lie her sooner if he was angry?
If he was so angry at her,
I
wouldn't
like
his anger
this
have surfaced at the
defense.
time
This
when
defense,
it was
he's
close
just
to
lazy.
their breakup?
Val,
Why wait all of these years if anger were his motivation?
be right
It
back.
doesn't make sense. And anger was not his motivation.
He
If it
told her
had
with
been, it would have
sadness, not
surfaced
madness.
before February 14th, 2020.
Jiminy Christmas, people.
The only anger he showed her at the XBiz Awards was anger about his perception of her hypocrisy. You'll remember that there was discussion about why are you here? He kept asking her, why are you here? And Aspen Jameson asked,
G'day.
said, from her it seemed that there had been an issue about Amie Harwick disapproving of the porn industry. And Gareth was making an issue of that when he was asking her why she's here, because during their relationship, it had become an issue. He was,
Wait,
it was
Wait.
shocking to him to see Amie there, knowing that she had disapproved of the industry. The Amie he knew disapproved.
that was never put in evidence.
So you can rephrase your statement or move on.
Thank you. Aspen Jameson said it seemed as though she disapproved of the porn industry. So Gareth Pursehouse anger towards her about hypocrisy was directed towards that. Why would somebody who disapproved of the industry be at an industry event? This was the last place in the world he expected to see her. And that led to him being completely floored, literally floored, when he saw her there.
Literally floored. Well, he was on the floor.
I'm still waiting for a better
Prosecution
snot bubble
has
Photoshop
introduced
or
statements
photograph. I know it's
that
out there,
Gareth
people. You
Pursehouse
must
made
find
to
it.
his friends while he was in custody at one of the jail facilities. And I want to go
Why
through
did
that
they-
with
Bring
you.
up the
First,
phone call.
What's so
there's jury
objectionable
instruction that
about
tells
what
you
she
how
just
to
said?
evaluate a defendant's statements. And it says it's up to you to decide how
They
much
said
importance
facts
to give the
on
statements.
evidence.
And the prosecution is
Okay,
trying to
so
claim
basically-
that these statements to his friends are somehow an admission of guilt.
None of what she
So I
just
want to
said
put them in
about
context
her,
so that
Amie
you can make
disapproving
the
of the porn
determination of how much
industry was
importance to give
ever
these statements.
put into evidence by anyone. So she just pulled that out of her butt pocket.
She just did.
Oh, you're back.
That's true. And I,
Hey,
sorry, I can't stop the feed.
Yeah,
That's
that's
okay.
one of the things we were going to try to
This bit.
Yeah, I would not be bringing up the phone call where I look like a James Spader from Pink, level douche.
Nah. Why is she
But-
bringing this in?
Well,
Yeah.
because she's not a good lawyer, but
This is silly of her.
She's the
on
California
now.
Elaine Bredehoft.
she's like, my client's gonna look awesome. Also, I told her to dress like Ava Braun. This will be great.
Talk to you about it and see what we can do to help on the outside.
Yeah, please do that. And I mean, that's essentially it.
How do we know how to get?
So the first thing he says to his friends is, can you help my brother? My brother's going to need a lot of help. Can you help him pack up my house?
Oh, here, man. How are you?
No, she was not.
No.
She was a Playboy bunny, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, she just
Yeah,
did
she
Playboy,
wasn't.
but it was only clothed, unfortunately. I was kind of pissed about that.
And I think she framed the bras she framed
Yeah.
a pair of bras for reasons.
Yeah.
We do
Now,
not
she
understand.
was friends with a porn star that won an award.
Yeah,
David,
David quite liked. Yes.
Yeah. David thought
Yes.
she was quite lovely, Brandon.
Yes.
Said, she could teach him a lot of new things that he never
Yes.
experienced before.
And
Yes.
this particular person wore a skirt that was barely legal.
Yes. This person.
That exposed more than some panties.
Yes, and this person had
Support.
more than most females have under their panties.
Yeah.
We found out
And-
later.
Yeah. And she definitely has a couple accessories and
Mm, yes.
turns out, Brandon, that she was a male.
She had a
Trans
pool
woman.
noodle and a couple of blow up
berries.
Twig and berries.
twig and berries. Yes, that's right.
So, yeah.
Franks
So
and beans.
now her voice seemed like was a little sus, I'll say.
Yeah, we were sus on the voice to start off with.
I
But-
was more focused on the hair. I was like, she had the
That's right.
designer clothes everywhere. And then
Yeah.
the hair was like, what in the Hangover have we done here? And it
And I
was
found her, I found her name and tried to text her. I got her number, tried to text her for an interview, but now she didn't answer.
I can't imagine, Sal, why is she yeah, Mads, you're right. He's really she
Sorry,
did have a
Dave. You
lot
know I
of
love you.
well, and then we had the friend that was very pretty, but she had so much work done
Oh God.
that okay, I felt bad because she was pretty, but she had those eyelashes and those creepy dolls that you like lean them back and their eyes shut. That's what she reminded me of.
Mm,
So every time I saw her eyelids shut, I just got a flash of one of those dolls and I was like, well, I'm done.
She looked like they got the witness from a wax museum.
it-
Yeah,
yeah.
she'd had a whole lot done, but I guess that's the aesthetic there. And what can you
It's
do?
LA. Yeah.
It's LA indeed.
I mean, the Midwest has an aesthetic too.
No, that's when I still thought she was a woman. And I wanted to try to get her name because I was trying to identify her because all I had was a real name. I couldn't find her porn name. Unfortunately, I then discovered it, saw what she looked like, and realized I made a big mistake.
A big mistake. A pretty big mistake.
It certainly
Quite large.
is D large. Yes.
D large indeed. Not a favorite though.
No.
Not
Probably
in the
not.
favorites folder. Mm-mm.
Well, okay. Yeah. C-swept. I guess I did. And it was only like $3. It was on sale, which I thought meant she was really cheap. I mean, seriously, $3? Come on, girl. Have some pride in yourself.
Girl.
For sakes. Yeah. I'm not going to misgender her. I'm not a bigot.
No, you're not. You're very inclusive.
I have court tomorrow but just to postpone my initial trial. And my brother's gonna need a lot of help to get my stuff out. I got out on bail for
Oh,
a
he's a
minute,
good
but then
brother.
I got brought back.
Yes, it's real.
Oh, yeah.
This
Yeah,
happens.
it happened on stream.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, Dave was just commenting in the comments, oh, she can teach me a few things. And
He was on stream when it happened, though.
oh, yeah.
Yeah, like he was
Yeah.
on stream when she testified, and then
Oh,
he
shit.
left.
Yeah.
Yeah,
'cause
and
was
he
in
left.
for-
And then later on, Shizzy messaged me and said, "That's a dude."
Yeah.
And I sent Shizzy a link to come on stream, and we stopped the testimony that was on, and he brought up an article which actually showed
Yeah.
this person, and it's a they.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I kept
then
researching.
I think Luna actually and Sal both looked up this person and saw video of
I saw the full thing.
the whole thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's real.
And Dave made a terrible mistake that day.
Yeah. I think I've got a clip of it somewhere. In fact, I will clip it and put it on my channel. 'cause it's
Sal, I
funny.
can't believe you
Every
made
day I
the
had to say
you didn't
this
make the
somehow.
obligatory "it's ma'am" joke. Like,
Yeah.
there's
It's
an
ma'am.
opening, there's an opportunity, and
I
you
know.
My
missed
brother
it.
in debt a little bit, so that's really fucked up. And I need Dave to give him the money he owes me
I think
badly.
he's busy this week.
Okay, well, at some point, I need Dave to pay my brother the money he owes me because
He's such a sweet brother, though.
I'm not working anymore.
Lolita, the one
I mean,
with
that's essentially
really short skirt, kind of blondish, and sounded like a
I'll
man.
find it in the background
Yeah.
whilst you're watching.
Yeah.
It's all right.
really. I hear there's a lot of news.
Yeah, you were all over the news, pal.
But,
Yeah. All over. Is that your
I
hair?
hope they,
I think I see your
I
hair.
hope they bring up his comedy career in prison. Yeah. Hey, what do you call the most feminine candy bar? A Hershey.
Hang on.
Lord.
What sexually transmitted disease do you get from when a girl gives you a golden shower?
I have no
Ready?
idea.
Yeah.
Herpes.
Oh,
Okay, that's Gareth's joke.
Yeah.
that's still not as bad as his joke. Again, you go up and you
No, the Hershey's was his joke. Both of
But
them.
they're both Gareth's jokes. That's his material. That's his
Jesus.
stand-up material.
Jesus H.
Yeah,
Wipe.
I know.
That is
right?
worse than actual AIDS.
That was in the video.
That was in the video. That was in his video. That video that
The
we were just
jailhouse
watching.
call.
of
And
him
that
talking
woman
to his
still
friends.
slept with him?
I know.
And he was
woman's-
he was telling his friends, "Oh, you should sell my jokes in a book.
Yeah. And
Like
he
you'll
was
make
like,
money because I'm
Yeah.
so famous now."
he's got so many jokes in his head. He just hasn't, written them down yet. And he can't get a pencil yet. So
He has a nub and pencil right there. I bet he's been writing jokes this entire trial. Funnies with Gareth.
He
and yeah.
is so deluded.
And he
Wow.
thinks like people are going to buy his stuff because he did this, like his
It's the
furniture and
media right
stuff,
there. The
and
media.
give the money to his brother
Okay,
since he's not getting out.
sweetie, no.
It's just all the wow.
Yeah.
No, if anyone was going to do anything, they would donate to Amy's causes.
Yeah, no.
He's a
This
loving
is his
brother.
ticket to fame.
No, and yeah, no. What? I can't even
Yeah.
with you right now, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
I mean,
great.
it's LA.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to be famous for something, don't they?
They put me on the wrong thing, so I'm like leaning over. I can't reach up.
Loyal friends, though.
So you're wrong.
Yeah. God. Yeah. So my brother's gonna need a lot of help, like just packing up all my house
Aw.
and moving into his house in San Diego.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Do you remember what's the number? Do you have it?
And throughout the conversation with his friends, and a lot this was bleeped out so that the number would not become public, but there's continual
Darn.
conversation about repeating the number so that Gareth knew his friends would be able to remember his brother's phone number and reach out to help his brother.
Wish we had it.
I saw.
Nah, his brother. It's not his brother's fault. He's a douche.
It's on Dave. It's a Dave thing.
Yeah, I'm in total isolation, so like I'm in a cell alone all the time.
Oh,
super fun. And yeah, so
That's why you have the public defender. How you spent all that money to get the bail out for one day.
yeah, for like 15 hours.
Yeah.
15 hours.
And yeah, so
He spent $100,000 to
obviously my
get
work fired
15
me
hours
for
of freedom.
They probably are, I assume. I don't know.
Yeah, because in
The
California,
state of Los Angeles thanks you.
because they just did first degree unaliving. So he got like $1 million bail or 1.3, I think. And
Yeah,
so
it was very steep.
but to bond out, you just have to pay 10%, so $130K. So he went to the bail bondsman, gave him $130K. He got out of jail. And then 15 hours later, California upped the charges to first degree with special circumstances, which are lying in wait. Lying in
Yes,
wait
lying
or
in wait.
financial gains for an unaliving in California make you not eligible for bail.
Yeah, it's the one
And-
thing they haven't repealed.
Yeah, seriously. And so he paid $130K and was rearrested 13 hours later.
You feel
he doesn't-
so bad for the guy.
I don't know if he got the money back. He said he's trying to with the bail bondsman.
My brother had to do all this for our dad dying last summer, and now he has to do it all for me. So this is a lot for me to deal with. So any help you guys can do, super please.
We can do for sure.
Poor guy.
So we're learning about Gareth's current predicament, that he's in isolation.
His predicament, I'm sorry. Like
Yeah,
he just
other than his
landed
brother,
there,
this is
like
the first
he
time he's
skipped,
had
fell,
anybody
and
else to talk to. He's
landed
in
into a bear
isolation.
trap in
And
jail.
Many.
Yeah, so I'm just really worried about my brother, and I'm hoping that the bail bondsman will return the money to him so they can have money. You know, the $130,000.
His brother paid the money.
So I'm hoping I can
Oh,
still get that.
Bums.
He said he would, but I don't know.
No.
How are they going to get it back? That's a third party thing. I remember I was never able to get mine back.
The guy's saying the guy's saying he'll give it back, but I don't believe him. So right now I'm just hoping. You know, I don't know if you can help him find a legal way to do it, because the guy, basically I was out, right? And then I hadn't paid him yet, and then the guy found out they were going to bring me back into court, or back into jail, and so he rushed me to he turned off all our phones, saying the media was tracking us, and then took me to the bank, got me to give him the money, and then he dumped me at In-N-Out, said he was going to be back, and then the task force arrested me again. Yeah, so if it turns out that he doesn't give me the money back, my brother the money back rather, if you can try and help with the legal part of trying to do that, possibly if that happens, you know, anything, please. And yeah, I'm really needy right now. I just need help with all these outside stuff, which sucks.
Yeah, we'll contact your brother and see what we can help for sure.
Thank you. And yeah, I'm really.
So can we like give you money for like your whatever?
No, I don't want any of that. Thank you though. I don't care about that shit. All I care about is like, you know, I help my brother. And if my brother gets the money back, then he could just use it, like explaining. He could just use that. But you know, I don't know. But I don't want to be like used to using the store kind of thing here. I don't care.
Oh, dear.
So as you can see, Gareth's primary concern at this point is helping his brother clean up his mess,
Oh,
the mess that he's
that's so
created.
nice.
No, yeah, I was paid out a bunch of times already. People were trying to sell pictures and Daily Mail.
I don't know if my brother would do that for me.
Their restraining order just ended like 2 days ago. And they were like,
No, that's a lie. That is like 15 years ago.
Yeah, 15 years ago.
The truth came out.
Oh, okay, got it.
They put him on the 48-hour CPS. You know, that's 48 hours.
Oh yeah, they called my brother. They wanted me to be on it.
I wish I had friends who cared about me.
Anything like so like if they're
Years
trying to
ago.
sell bikes, whatever. If something like big
What kind of crazy person puts an actual jail phone up to their ear and touches it with their mouth, you know, without a Clorox wipe? Like he is just like holding on to it real
herpes A
close.
through Z. Good lord.
He just got gonorrhea vesiculitis, like
He just got the
right
new
quick.
COVID 23.
He just got all
I
the
love so much.
It's like a Wuhan factory in those phones.
Like, I don't care. There's no, it
I
doesn't
mean,
matter.
his
You
poor
know?
brother, his dad got popped for stalking. Now he's got popped for first degree murder.
so
And the brother's like, look,
yeah, so just,
I'm
that's essentially it.
just
Help
the
me out
normal
my
one
brother.
here. Like,
And
I'm
absolutely,
a good Pursehouse. I'm also changing my
It goes
name.
on.
yeah, everything comes down to just helping my brother pack up my world and get it to his place. Yeah, get to San Diego, and hopefully, and he's trying to buy a house right now, so I hope he can get that money back and he can use that to buy a house. And then if I get out, I can have a room.
Get out.
Yeah, we have a bigger house.
And then
Yeah, I found it.
Gareth's jokes and some other interesting information.
I'll play the jokes. Play the
But that would
jokes.
be good for my brother.
Oh,
But I do have a joke for you.
jokes.
What's
Oh
the
my
most
God, she's
feminine
actually-
candy bar?
Oh, Jesus.
Hershey's.
Why?
Like, okay, why are they playing
Is
this?
he laughing at his own flippin'
He's not.
The only time he's flipping smile. Y'all,
Do it again.
guilty AF. Death penalty. Snake Island. Snake Island.
But that would be good for my brother. But I do have a joke for you. What's the most feminine candy bar? Hershey's.
He's laughing at his own joke. It made him laugh. Oh my God.
No, not yet. I'm trying to
What
get
did
a
she
pencil.
say?
I
Claire's
have a
like,
paper, but I haven't got a pencil yet.
stop that, you.
What is it?
She just told him to stop reacting.
Did
She
she?
just yelled. I think so. I'm sure. Why else would she
Do it again.
pull him over?
Do it again.
She's like, you flippin' moron.
And then here's one of Gareth's jokes. and some
Why
other
did she
interesting
play
information.
in the first place? That's a stupid thing to do.
Good for my brother. But I do have a joke for you. What's the most feminine candy bar? Hershey's.
Yeah, you got your sense of humor. You're making the best of it. Hey, do
Yeah.
you get to give you a pen and paper to actually like write stuff down?
Not yet. I'm trying to get a pencil. I have a piece of paper, but I haven't got a pencil yet. What is it?
He's in a position where he has absolute no autonomy, can't even get a pencil.
Oh my God. They're. Oh my
The
God.
dumbest thing I've ever seen happen in a closing argument.
She's like,
They're
"Just
trying to
after
make
my
them feel
clients."
sorry for him because he can't get a
Well, I
pencil
do
to
feel
write his jokes.
Sal, don't you feel sorry for the mentally subnormal?
Oh, wow.
Can't you just say he licks windows now? I mean,
That's
did they do
too
a mental
funny.
acuity test?
Can you, like, what person, apart from like Ted Bundy, would be sympathetic to that?
Did they do a run through of this? Or did she
Like,
just
I'm
say, did she just drink
empathic.
a bottle of bourbon and say, "I'll wing it"? F it, I'll do it live, like Bill O'Reilly.
It's bad enough they had to play this. The state played this, but why the defense is using this in closing arguments?
Why did she play it? And how he couldn't control himself. He still finds that joke so funny.
He's like, I am a comic genius like Carlin. They stand on the shoulders of me.
Oh, you know he's gonna slay at stand-up night.
He is. I'm so glad that I got to shoot earlier for the violin music.
You know, if the female lawyer next to him didn't, because as a mom, I would be tempted to do one of these Biff things on the back of his head. That's from my favorite book. If you like slightly irreverent humor of the religious sort, it's called Lamb by Chris Moore, but the main character's name is Biff because that's the name of what they used to call just
The salesman.
up around the head. But as the mother, I would have like, what the hell is wrong with you, child? You're not supposed to be smiling right now.
Yeah, you're right, Justin. That might be the death of him in Gen
He's
Pop.
going to go up to a Cryptera Blood and say, "Hey,
Really?
you want to hear something funny?" And they're going to be like,
Wow. I
Oh
can't
my
believe that
People
just
to help
happened.
him in ways of ways.
That
He's gonna
was
do the
just-
King of the Hill thing where
And
Bobby met Chris Rock,
Ah.
and then he decided to do the Chris Rock style impressions, but Bobby Hill and Fairly Pale
I'm-
didn't go over as well.
yeah, that broke me. That broke me. I have never seen anything like that.
Rip Gareth prison pocket. Well, we knew you little.
I can't believe that happened. She's not going to play more, is she? Surely not.
So breaking news, not that we've not been sidetracked completely, but the remains of Susan Morphy were found and positively identified.
Backstory on that? Who's that?
Susan Morphew, the mom that went missing several years ago.
Oh, after 3 years?
Yeah, she went on a bike ride on Mother's Day. It was a fairly big case. The husband was charged, I believe, and then I think he either acquitted or they had to drop the case. I'm not quite sure. It was 2020.
Oh,
She
wow.
was but that just popped up. And in other news, so the birthday party is actually tomorrow. I just can't read. But I didn't pull any news because I thought it was today. So I will probably record a Newsy News for tomorrow to play at Newsy News time.
Okay.
Okay, look, so it looks like Mr. Husband Barry might be in trouble now. There you go.
So
depends.
We will have a Newsy News tomorrow. It just will be recorded. It will not play live, but we will have one.
Oh, wow. So all charges were dropped in April 2022, just days before he was set to stand trial. The move came after the judge presiding over the case barred prosecutors from using most of their key witnesses at trial as punishment for repeatedly failing to turn over evidence in the defendant's favor. The case was dismissed without prejudice, though, so they can file charges again.
So that was it just popped up, and I figured, while we're already on a tangent.
Yeah, no, that's interesting.
Oh,
Cool.
sorry.
Let's keep going.
All right.
Yeah, sorry.
The comment about the use of humor. Hugo,
If only he'd been
Chavez
acquitted.
made a comment during his testimony about using humor as a defense mechanism. He explained to all of us that even though he was in shock and grieving while he met with police officers after Amie Harwick's death, he still interacted with people, still worked, and still saw clients. And then he explained that humor is a defense mechanism. People will cope with grief and loss and shock in different ways. He said he could feel deep shock and sadness and also be able to do all the things he described. So the use of humor as a defense mechanism does not mean someone is cold and callous. Moving on.
I'm definitely not employable anymore if I get out. That's fun. So, or not, I don't know. Shit. Yeah, if I get the money back, then.
One day at a time, man. Let's try to.
Who knows what kind of experience they have? Who knows? You might get out.
They're still playing the jail stuff.
Right now, I just
One
need
day
to
at a time.
Because Hope is a killer in here. Yeah, I just need my brother to be helped so that he can be solid and just go with it and all that, and then and yeah, that's essentially it.
So you hear that he says he doesn't want to have hope. He's just trying to make it day by day.
Aww.
This is the last clip.
Oh, God. We have to go back now.
Yes, we do. We need that back.
Oh, when I was first brought in here, they had me on like suicide watch, so I was.
Even Doogie Howser can't buy this.
Poncho made out of tarp, like plastic tarp.
He's like, is anyone buying this?
Instead of real clothes, but now I'm wearing normal clothes now. But yeah, before
He's
it was.
looking at the entire jury and. Oh no, it's Hannibal Lecter. That's the scene I'm thinking about. DALI.
Yeah.
So now we know that he's also been on suicide watch during his incarceration.
Which is just as disturbing.
We established
I
during
kind of like that
testimony
scene
that
with the classical music.
tape
I know, right?
About 16, 17 days.
Which says more
after
about
Mr.
me.
Purshouse's arrest.
It's one of my
16, 17 days of
favorites.
being in
That whole
isolation
movie is my
with his
favorite.
chance to be able to speak to some other people.
Right, Mo? Oh my God, you are my twin.
I know. We just need to figure out who's the eviler one.
The
I know.
prosecution
There really
offered
is
some
no-
unreliable evidence to you to
It's
support
the evil
their
one.
theory that Mr. Pursehouse
There is no
always
good
intended
twin.
to
No.
kill Amie Harwick.
Yeah, I don't
There is
think so.
only levels of
The
chaotic.
prosecution during
neutral.
their opening argument
ish.
specifically talked to you about Hernando Chavez and his comments about what he heard at the XBiz Awards and Aspen Jameson's comments and compared the two. And as you recall, Aspen Jameson said she heard Mr. Pursehouse say, "Funny seeing you here,"
Mad, that's a good idea.
when he first came up. And something along the lines of, "You fucking ruined my life." Now, the use of the word fucking is something, as you can hear from these clips, is something Mr. Pursehouse says. But that doesn't mean he uses it in a way that's
Oh,
hostile
that
or
doesn't sound
angry.
right coming out of her mouth.
But when Mr. Chavez indicated
It's like when grandma curses. It
that
just-
he heard the
Yeah.
statement,
Or
there's an
talks
embellishment.
dirty.
He claims to have heard, when he testified,
I'll
he
get that
claimed
out of
to
your
have
mouth
heard
hole. I don't want to hear it.
Gareth
That
Pursehouse
was
call Amie
awful,
Harwick a
Sal.
bitch.
I already have to know
Now,
what soaking
When
is. I don't want to
confronted
know
about
that.
with that statement
was-
on cross-examination, Hernando Chavez admitted that previously, on February 18th, 2020, when he was interviewed by detectives about what he observed at the XBiz Awards, he told detectives he did not hear Gareth call Amie a bitch. But suddenly, when it comes time to present testimony, it's a new recollection that he has. And these new recollections need to be looked at carefully because they're a way the prosecution can try to put their thumb on the scale by embellishing the facts. And we need to have a fair trial here. And that means the evidence offered by the prosecution needs to be examined critically. You can't just accept something someone says because they're saying it under oath, but you have to examine all the circumstances and whether they've made prior inconsistent statements and evaluating the veracity of their testimony.
Veracity.
Hernando Chavez
true.
was one of Amie Harwick's closest friends. And I can't fault him for wanting to remember things in a way that helps prosecute the person that he thinks is
But he a
responsible
liar.
for her death. I don't think he's a bad person for that. But that doesn't mean we don't critically examine his testimony. So I ask you to disregard that statement because Gareth Pursehouse did not.
Jurors have been deliberating 3.5 hours so far.
And I think they're having a nap, aren't they?
They
they're
were- they're-
Hmm?
Go ahead, Sal.
No, usually at this point they got like 2 hours left in the day. They'll likely run the clock out just to come back tomorrow and get another day off work and then say
Well,
guilty.
Yeah, and if they've been following all the rules, they haven't had a chance to talk to each other about the case.
Yeah.
So it's probably just a giant what in the actual crap did we watch?
Yeah.
Yeah.
know,
And do you think
vomit
that
dump of-
that woman at the beginning was a woman?
Yeah.
They probably were
Yeah.
talking about her.
That's probably the
while.
first vote they took.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now
Yeah.
they're deliberating on
The
that.
first vote.
And then
Yeah.
I mean, like
And
some
then once-
cases, like Matthew Moore, the jury, within 20 minutes, they all thought he was not guilty, but they wanted to go through everything and make sure they looked at the evidence.
I don't believe they do, man.
Well, they get paid very, very little. Like during the Johnny Depp, I think it was like $20 a day, $25 a day.
yeah, it
I am
was
shocked by
something
how
fairly
badly
low.
jurors get compensated. in the US.
Now, if you have a job, like you work at a corporation, usually they will pay you at least up to a certain point. But like, let's say you have an OJ trial or a Young Thug. I mean, that goes months. It really depends on the corporation. There's no set rules.
Like here, the jurors get
Oh,
paid
Harwick.
$200 to $400 a day, something like that.
Really?
Like at least, yeah. Like they get properly compensated, like as if they're going to work like a normal job.
Yeah.
Like
That-
it's not, so it's not a disincentive
Yeah.
to go and
to
do your
serve.
jury duty. Yeah, it shouldn't be a disincentive. So I just don't like this whole idea of people not being able to do their jury duty because they can't afford to
Yeah.
is ridiculous to me. It's just like why would the
Yeah.
government not pay them?
And then,
Yeah.
like in
Stupid.
cases like OJ or Young Thug, you're
They're
only
there for
going to get
ages.
people that are like stay-at-home moms or
Yeah.
retirees, people that have no life, or
Yeah, so it completely takes the
Yeah.
pool of like the cross section of society that you can have. That's
which did work
stupid.
out for OJ, but
It shouldn't work out for anyone.
no, it
It
should
should be
be
a true
fair.
cross section of society.
It should be, but we're also dealing with lowering standards of education and things like
That too.
that. So you have juries that are coming in that don't understand
That are
certain
more dumb.
things to a level. Now, this prosecutor, I will say, did a really good job of making the instructions, making the law kind of accessible by a greedy bloke,
Yeah.
to making it conversational, kind of putting it in, like everyday terms, like, okay, if you were to go do this crime, this would be what premeditation is, and it could be, within the second that you pulled out a weapon and aimed for, a vital organ instead of a limb, because that's premeditated. You wanted to injure them fully, and if you shot multiple times, then you intended to fully kill them. You aimed for vital organs, you aimed for the midsection. He did a really good job of kind of explaining different levels of things,
Yeah.
and going through the defense and how it wouldn't be manslaughter, it wouldn't be this, it wouldn't be that. So I think that I would be open to listening to professional jurors, possibly, because I think that
Yeah.
you get a lot of jurors who want to use emotional things,
Yeah.
and you see
Yeah.
a lot more prosecutors playing to emotions instead of the law anymore,
Yeah.
and it's getting
I don't
scary.
really get what David's saying here.
They're saying that the
Oh.
jurors are living outside their means.
Oh, I don't get it. Like if you guys are paying jurors like $10 or $15 a day, how on earth could they afford to live if they're there for 2 weeks? People can't live on $10 to $15 a day. So I don't really see what David's saying.
Yeah.
I don't get it. Okay.
Harwick that word. And we have corroboration of that because Gareth Pursehouse did not call Amie Harwick that word, and Amie Harwick did not note it in her email to herself. If he had said that, you would think Amie Harwick would have written it in her email to herself.
Asking to consider that other than the state of mind exception.
Right, it's the same.
Another reason to doubt Mr. Chavez's testimony is his recollection of the second conversation that occurred at the XBiz Awards. You'll recall when he testified, he told us that he remembered after Amie and Gareth walked away from their table in the award ceremony, he went out and sat on a chair and watched the entire conversation. But the text messages between he and Amie Harwick show that is not what happened. This is defense C. So during that second conversation, Amie Harwick texts Fernando Chavez and says, "I'm around to the right talking, I'm okay." And he sends the hand emojis. And then follows up at 11:39, about 15 minutes later, still talking. If you were sitting there watching them, he wouldn't have to ask. And she says yes. And he responds, "Okay, I'll be floating around.
I'm going to try going up to 1.5
floating around.
and let me know if that's too much.
Amie
Yeah.
and Gareth are talking. And then he says, "Let me know when you're ready." And she says, "Okay, just a few minutes, almost done." And then he asks where she is. "Are you downstairs or upstairs? Where should I head towards?" And then she tells him where to find her. And that's because he was not sitting there watching. His recollection cannot be trusted. Prosecution has also asked you to believe that Amie Harwick could not have fallen over the balcony railing of her own volition because they want you to believe she was strangled to unconsciousness. However, the evidence does not support that interpretation of what happened. Dr. Luzzi testified what he would expect to happen if someone was strangled to unconsciousness, and he made a point of saying he would suspect that she would lose control of her bowel and bladder. There was no losing control of bowels in this case. There is a suspicion that there was urine there. We don't know who that urine belonged to, if it belonged to a person or her cat. But without the bowel movement, we cannot say Amie Harwick was strangled to unconsciousness.
You're blaming the cat now?
And someone can urinate themselves just by being startled and screaming the way Amie Harwick was described to be screaming by Michael Herman.
Wait a minute. So the defense is she didn't poo her pants, so therefore not guilty. I just want to make sure that the defense is going with medical examiner said no poo in pants, no streaks, therefore no shart, therefore not guilty.
If the shark don't fit, you must acquit.
No streaks, shackles off.
Yeah.
Here I sit brokenhearted, for I came to shit, but only farted.
Yes.
Oh my God. Really?
She could have been.
You never heard that?
Look,
No.
here's the part. She could have been in a semi-conscious state. She could have been in a state where she could not have fought back, and he still picked her up because she was all of 105 pounds, soaking daggone wet, and yeeted her off the thing. No, she did not. They are still trying to sell that she startled herself to potty trained. Okay. Startled herself to peeing. They hugged for a little bit, but she was a fighter and she hung strong. And then she jumped up Spider-Man, Nikita style, ran up Assassin's Creed, parkoured all the way up, and then Butterfingers. It just didn't stick the landing on the triple Lutz. We included jokes. He laughed at jokes. I mean, where the hell are we going with why? This is a train wreck worse than this is the Hindenburg. It's like the humanity. Oh, the humanity.
Oh, the humanity.
Yeah, so she was punched in the face. She was semi strangled, but she didn't poop herself, so no harm, no foul. So she, so she must have. I can't. Okay, ma'am, continue. I want to hear your asinine story.
Dr. Luzzi said it takes 15 to 20 seconds for someone to lose consciousness if they're strangled. Michael Herman says he was downstairs listening to what happened. And during the trial, for the first time, Michael Herman testified that it became eerily silent after he heard choking sounds. All of Michael Herman's prior statements indicated all he heard was Amie Harwick constantly screaming, that there were no moments of quiet. But by trial, his testimony changed, and suddenly there was an eerie silence, which we're supposed to assume meant she was unconscious. But ladies and gentlemen, that is not what happened. Amie Harwick was conscious and screaming the entire time. I want to go through some of the
I was hoping
prior
to start
inconsistent
over.
statements of Michael Herman with you. This is from Exhibit 28. At 1:25 a.m., Michael Herman's initial encounter with the first responders, Officer Fissick and his partner, Ebby.
Hey, sir. Right up here.
Whenever I heard it, she's screaming, she's thrown to the ground. I couldn't find my phone, I couldn't find anything.
Okay, hold on. Okay, so you have access to here?
No.
Is there anybody else inside the house?
My roommate.
Just your roommate by yourself?
Yes. Did you check on her? Dude, I heard screaming. I don't know if that guy had a gun or a knife. I came running trying to. I couldn't find my phone.
So is there somebody else inside?
So I think there's.
Okay, sir, do me a favor. Do me a favor. Calm down. Calm down.
Calm down,
Is there
sir.
somebody else inside the house?
I don't know. I just heard her screaming.
He was freaking the F out.
Yeah.
Pretty sure he's a coke addict
A few minutes later,
Allegedly.
or something. Yeah, one of those things.
He has allergies. It's not.
Oh yeah, that's right.
his-
That's right.
Nobody's answering the door.
Does she have a boyfriend out there?
No, she doesn't have a boyfriend. The last I heard, she saw a guy who she had a restraining order against him a long time ago. She saw him at a conference somewhere.
Was there anybody else here?
Not that I know of. Well, there was, obviously, but I mean, I didn't know they were.
Or
He seems even more cray cray at 1.5.
I heard her screaming in the house for a long, like as I'm looking for her, I heard everything, but she's screaming all the time.
He, d- yeah, he does seem a little more
Trust me, I would have seen her when I came
spazzy.
out. I came out this way to the fence to try and find to get
I'll
out.
bump it
Yep,
up after.
yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see him.
I was enjoying the cray. It was good.
You want to go
Do you hear
1.5?
any other voices other than
Yeah,
hers?
why not?
Yeah, Eris, it's theoretical. Like maybe it fell behind the bed or whatever, and he knocked it over. It's theoretically possible.
Is it a head injury
He
and
was
we're not trained?
hysterical
I don't know
and
if there's
in
neck
shock.
injury.
Why-
That's what the fire department should be
If
here.
he inaccurately remembered something, I don't think the jury's going to hold it against this man.
Yeah, as weird as he is.
As weird as chagrined as most of us are that he didn't run up
What
there.
was she screaming? Did you just yelling?
Just yelling.
And then the officers found her out here?
Yes,
Like
we
this-
just
yeah.
her back. When she get back in, she was laying there. At first I thought it was a doll. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Like,
Watch out, half Irish. You'll be done for murder. Especially, you
people
don't
will
live in
think you're
Wisconsin, do
kidnapped.
you? Just be
Yeah.
careful.
she had angry, yelling.
Don't leave it unattended for more than like maybe an hour.
I'm telling you, it's not like a struggle. I just don't have any, and like, I just don't understand. Like, you know.
At 2:09 a.m.
No, she was still upstairs yelling when I ran out.
Right.
And at 7:54 a.m.
All right, she was still yelling when I left. Okay, she was yelling the whole time. Telling us, I knew that's why I knew. I knew that there was somebody else in here. Okay, now this is kind of strange, but can you yell? Like she, like, what did it sound like? You. Okay, just a kind of yeah. She didn't say like stop, go.
It's Ned Flanders when he screams.
Nothing, was words. It was just a sound. It was a sound of scream. Okay. And so.
Just the sounds and screams. No moments of
girl is
silence. She
screaming.
was screaming the whole time. And then at 9:41 a.m. at the LAPD station. Oh no, for that 7:55 a.m. I'm sorry.
I do that all the time online.
Oh, I have to.
9:41 a.m.
Yeah, I'll look for my glasses and I have them on. Yes.
I have to use my laptop to go to findmyphone.com. Ask them to call
Done
me.
that before.
Yeah. It's a great website.
Right? Peace? It's like, what are they arguing?
Yeah.
What else did you hear?
It just makes you look more
He
guilty.
slightly changed his statement.
Yeah, it sounded like that was when I was like running out. That was when I was yelling at Amy. That was when, like, you know, it felt like I heard like shuffling. Okay, did you hear it when I ran out? Like I just yelled.
I don't have a landline.
You have a landline, half Irish?
She's still screaming.
Wow.
And then yelled back up again. And
I
then
didn't know they still existed. That's actually a good idea.
Besides the shuffling, her screaming, do you remember? Did you hear anything else like banging or clanking or things falling down? Okay.
So detectives asked him point blank, "What else did you hear?" And there's still no mention of choking or moments where she stopped screaming. It's consistent. It's consistent with her being conscious and screaming the entire time that he was able to hear things. There was no moments of eerie silence.
I have a
Amy-
smartwatch, so I
not
can
straight
ignore
into
people.
consciousness.
Simple.
Another issue that's arisen is during the autopsy, Dr. Lucy wrote a report documenting the injuries that he found on Amie Harwick. But for the first time during his testimony at trial, he mentioned a new injury. He testified to nasal fractures, something that he did not include in his report. And he admitted that when he testified. He did not include evidence of nasal fractures in his report. And he indicated in his testimony that what he was relying on to conclude that she had received nasal fractures nasal fractures that he said were consistent with being punched in the face. He relied on a PowerPoint provided to him by the prosecutors. He did not know, Dr. Luzzi did not know where the images on the PowerPoint came from, and he didn't know if the images were even from this autopsy. Dr. Luzzi admitted he made no findings of nasal fractures in the autopsy report. So based on questionable evidence, suddenly at the trial, the prosecution tries to introduce evidence of a punch in the face. Now I know when Mr. Avila was going through his opening arguments to you, he didn't mention it. And I don't know if that means they realize something's wrong with that evidence, but the prosecution, the prosecution will get another opportunity to argue to you, and I will not.
Quick, tweet we've got a puppy on screen. We'll get lots and lots of new viewers.
And they may argue in their rebuttal argument these nasal fractures, which are completely unreliable evidence in this case and should not be believed by you.
Wait, she got to bring in the whole thing about
The reason
Amie not
prosecution
liking the
wants
porn
this evidence before you is
industry.
because they're
Can't
trying
you
to
bring in
paint
the
an
nasal
accurate picture
fracture
of
stuff?
what
I
happened.
mean,
They're
an
trying
eye
to
for an
convince
eye
you
and
that
nasal
Amie
fracture
Harwick was
for
in a
a...
debilitated state because she'd been punched in the face and
Hello,
strangled to unconsciousness.
puppy.
Therefore, she could not have gone over that railing of her own volition.
Oh, he's getting
The
big.
prosecution's evidence is not
Yeah.
convincing. It is not reliable. It
How
is
old
not
is he?
proof beyond a reasonable doubt.
He's about 3
The
months.
prosecution has not proven to you
Yikes.
that
He's
Amie
gonna be
Harwick was
big.
capable of climbing over that railing in an effort to escape. Michael Herman
I hope
testified
not. We're
he
pretty
had
sure he's
sciatica,
not a
and that was why he
Pomsky.
didn't
He's
run
a
upstairs
Muskie.
to help Amie. He
How
was
big
afraid-
are his paws? Like,
Mm,
do his paws look pretty big compared to him?
no. And either way, he's still a coward. He's a cowardly puppy.
Yeah, I'm just worried about him
Unless he's-
pulling.
Well,
You might
yeah,
want, once he starts getting used to walking on a leash, you might want to really work with keeping him close to you.
yeah. Well, we're doing we're going to do obedience training after I get done with the spinal
Yeah,
spinal stimulator trial. I just didn't want to
sure.
plan anything before that. Would you
Yeah.
stop biting people? You are such a booger.
I'm not trying
Nope.
to tell you what to do. Just I used
Oh
to
no,
train
no,
dogs.
he needs obedience.
Yeah.
Well, Peace Peony, he's supposed to, in theory, be a Pomsky, which is an unholy breed to begin with. Because how did a Husky and a Pomeranian get together? What kind of drunken night?
Well, the
was
husky
that?
was the female.
I hope so. But he looks more like a Mutsky, so he was a part of a surrender litter, so we're not quite sure. So he's hopefully going to be a little bit smaller.
Adorable. Hey, Farrell.
But it's kind
But
of
he
good
wasn't
that he's
in
getting a
physical
little bigger because he has to deal with a feral wild child's.
condition to be able to be in a fight. But even with his impaired state, he was able to climb a much higher gate, not once, but twice. Exactly the adrenaline, the exact same type of adrenaline that Michael Herman had coursing through his body that got him over that fence, not once, that spiked fence, not once, but twice. It's the same type of adrenaline Amie Harwick had at her disposal. And it makes sense that if you see somebody you're afraid of, you're going to run for the exit. And Amie Harwick was comfortable
The exit,
being on the railing
not a
of that balcony,
balcony.
and she had the means and the ability to climb over it. And the prosecution has not proven otherwise. Now, the prosecution has brought up the fact that we did not call Bob Malik to testify about the reconstruction. And
Yeah,
that
he was
really
the
tells me
mascot.
that the prosecution is worried about their case because they know it is their burden of proof.
Yeah.
They are the ones who have to present evidence to you, not the defense. We get to rely on the state of the evidence.
The look of
We get to rely on the prosecution's
don't
failure
give
to
a
prove their
F
case to
on
you.
the pregnant lady's face.
Uh-huh.
Like, please keep talking. Please keep talking. I beg you to please keep talking.
They are the ones
Right.
who have to present evidence to you, not the defense. We get to rely on the state of the evidence.
I will
We get to
definitely
rely
enjoy
on the
destroying your
prosecution's
soul.
failure to prove
That
their
that
case to
look
you.
I enjoy so much. That is a
And
petty verse
they
look
are the
right
ones
there.
who should have hired a accident
I
reconstruction
may or may not
expert
have had that look
to
on my face.
present to you definitively how they feel their interpretation of the evidence in this case is merited by the dynamics of falls and how you calculate falls and accident reconstruction. You saw the prosecution spared no expense in this case. They brought experts in from all over, experts who are very learned, experts who charge a lot of money. They paid over $65,000 to get a
Not
3D
money.
sanitized, I call it, sanitized recreation of 2086 Mound and 2080 Mound, that they did not present you with evidence to tell you how Amie Harwick came to land in the position she was in at the bottom of that balcony. That's on the prosecution. It's their burden to prove it to you, and they have failed to do that. I forgot to also mention one other fallacy, a couple other fallacies about the autopsy and the signs of the beating to the face.
Yep.
If Amie Harwick had been punched in the face and received those nasal fractures, there would have been blood. And there is no blood on the balcony, in the bedroom, in the hallway between the blue room and Amie Harwick's bedroom, anywhere, to substantiate a claim that she was punched in the face with such force that she was caused nasal fractures and she was debilitated. All of the blood was where she came to land, which is consistent with injuries from a fall. Also, you saw photographs of Gareth Purshouse's hands. Now, the prosecution made a point of telling you that there are no cuts on Gareth Purshouse's hands because he was wearing gloves. Now, I dispute and I disagree that they've proven he was wearing gloves inside the house, and we'll talk more about that later. But primarily, what I want you to focus on is the fact that his hands are not bruised.
Babbling. Oh,
if he is punching somebody with such force to cause nasal fractures, you would see bruising.
It doesn't have to be your
no
hand. You could use your arms, your elbows. It's a scuffle. It's not going to be a Hollywood fight.
Gloves would not protect your hands from showing signs of hitting somebody with enough force to break their nasal cavity. I submit to you, ladies and gentlemen, that it was Amie Harwick who left her DNA on the balcony door.
What?
No, it was Amie Harwick's fault.
Yeah.
Please continue.
I'm showing you People's Exhibit 93.
Even he doesn't believe that. Look at him. He's like, what?
Gareth's like, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
It's like when if you're together and you bring a card to the party and your significant other's like, yeah, we brought a card to the party.
And you can't see on this
Sure. Okay, we did.
But he claimed it was to the right of this little measurement device, this ruler.
Okay. So, chat, if you had, DNA evidence that the victim opened the door herself, would you have led with that first, or would you have led with Gareth's funny jokes first? Just asking for a friend.
Good question, Mo.
This is the kitchen door that was left open. The prosecution claims Mr. Pursehouse ran out.
It's pretty bad, Peace Penny. This is quite bad.
This door, it requires
the
doorknob to be opened and a deadbolt to be opened. Yet no DNA was found on this door.
Gareth can't work two knobs.
Who opened that door?
He's not in a relationship anymore.
He is a knob.
It was Amie Harwick who went out on my balcony on her own volition. It was Amie Harwick who, in an attempt to escape Mr. Pursehouse, in a panicked state, screaming, tried to climb over the balcony to get away. Even if Mr. Pursehouse were wearing gloves, that DNA would have been on that kitchen door if it came from him. If the balcony door had DNA,
Bye, Iris. Thanks for everything you do. Love,
still would have been able
awesome.
to transfer DNA on that kitchen door, but there was no DNA there, and that's because Mr. Pursehouse was not the one who left the DNA, Amie Harwick's DNA, on that balcony door. The prosecution has a theory they're trying to convince you of, that this nicotine syringe was intended to be used as a weapon. That it was intended to be used as a weapon by Gareth Pursehouse against Amie Harwick. There are several problems with that theory. First, the prosecution was arguing today that Gareth Pursehouse came to acquire that syringe with nicotine after the XFIZ Awards. The evidence does not support that. First, it's completely speculative. But we actually have evidence that indicates that syringe was an old syringe, that nicotine in the syringe was dated and old and had started to
look at them. They're like, what?
If you recall, there was testimony from Dr. Benowitz about nicotine.
I am in love with this woman's face. Like, please continue. I want to destroy and eat your soul. Like,
Dr. Benowitz testified that nicotine is a clear substance.
Yeah, she's like, let me up there.
And as it breaks down, it turns darker shades of brown. Here,
like, hold me back.
Nicotine had turned so brown, it was mistaken to be tar heroin by the officers who responded to 2086 Mound. That's how brown this clear liquid had turned. Dr. Benowitz testified it would take months or years for nicotine to break down outside the body.
Maybe
this
he bought
nicotine-
old hair or old. Maybe he bought old
that is
nicotine
Dr.
because he
Bennewick's
was
testimony.
broke.
That it takes months or years to break down outside of the body.
Maybe he had it lying around. Doesn't
So
mean he
this
didn't
syringe
bring it.
containing nicotine would take
with him
months
that
to
day.
years to turn that brown. This indicates that
Again, he
Mr.
still
Pursehouse
brought
had a
nicotine
longer
to the
period of time,
scene. I feel like
which means he didn't acquire it.
I
to
feel
use
like
against Amie
the,
Harwick.
the
He acquired
expiration,
it months
the
or years
expiratory
prior to
date
encountering
of
her.
the nicotine is
It's irrelevant.
This
like
indicates
if it was
that
within
this syringe
date,
was not
I would
intended
feel
to
is
be
It's like,
the most important
It
thing.
indicates he did
well,
not
I'm
acquire
sorry, it's beyond its expiry date, but
color of
here
this
it
liquid,
is.
which means over time.
If you're in my
It started
family,
to
it's
break
like
down.
still eat the yogurt. Come on, it's too
Well, if
Yeah.
you're
much.
going to
Also wants
unalive
to believe
somebody,
this myth that
you always
nicotine
use
is somehow
alcohol to
undetectable
rub
and
their
different
arm,
and would have been used to commit
and then
perfect
you
crime.
make sure
But
there's
let's look
no
at the
air in the
circumstances here.
needle,
First, whether or not it
and
was
then
even
you
intended
go
to
ahead,
We're all
make sure
the
the
air in the
medication
needle.
is not
How was
expired,
Gareth Pursehouse supposed
and
to
then
be able
we
to inject?
inject.
Dr. Bennewick's
Yeah.
talked about trying to
How
inject
they
somebody
execute
Gotta make
people.
sure you don't hurt
who's
them.
resisting and struggling.
Exactly. Well, that's how you do lethal
Prosecution is trying
injections.
to
Uh-huh.
manufacture some way for Mr. Pursehouse to have restrained her in order to apparently inject her with this syringe.
Wait a
And they
minute.
even are so desperate,
Are
they
we
point to the
saying that there's
drawstring
no
on his
way in
shorts
hell
and
that a man that is 6'4" and 230 pounds could restrain a 5'2", 110-pound person? It is impossible in the physics in this realm.
Uh-huh. And who has nicotine? Yeah. Look, apparently people do have it for vaping, right? But
Yeah.
in a
And there was a
syringe
Columbo
like that,
episode. There was a Columbo episode where somebody did that with nicotine.
well, that makes it normal. Columbo.
I
One
mean,
more thing.
it just, she's like, they're trying to make it seem like he could subdue her. And
Yeah.
the prosecutor's just going to go up and say, I would like you to look at this picture.
Yeah. Pure Havarish. Yeah.
try to make a claim that it's somehow a piece of rope or string or something that he could have used, which is
It was a
ludicrous.
fanny pack.
They also collected this piece of evidence on Ivar Street, behind that empty lot where there's all those trash cans lined up. This tangled web of wires somehow might be evidence in this case. Is their theory that he was going to untangle this mass of wires and somehow use it? It's ludicrous. This syringe was not to be used on Amie Harwick. It is not an effective weapon unless you have a means of injecting someone intravenously. And even a phlebotomist would have trouble doing that. I know when my daughter was 3 years old
Salacious,
and I had to
outrageous,
take her to the doctor
egregious.
Oh God, no! Don't bring in personal stories.
to restrain her in order to get a shot. Now, I mean, maybe that's not politically correct anymore to admit that you physically restrained your child, but that was the reality. This was not intended to be a weapon. If you look at the
Oh
syringe,
no,
when
I
you
don't have
compare
any
the syringe,
problems with you physically
look at how
restraining
long
your
that needle is.
child. I have a problem with you
The
bringing
syringe-
it up with Gareth Pursehouse.
We have to assume that this was brought for some other purpose because it is not a weapon. If Mr. Pursehouse intended to kill Amie Harwick, wouldn't there be a lot of other efficient, meaningful ways to do it other than bringing a syringe?
Wait a
That
minute. So,
syringe
so
was
now,
for somebody.
now the defense is he picked.
When Mr.
He's
Pursehouse
a
was
dum
arrested,
dum and he picked the wrong weapon.
detained at the Twin Towers facility, he was put on suicide watch. We know
Okay.
Dr. Benowitz acknowledged
So the defense is she didn't
that if you
poo.
do a Google search for nicotine,
She wasn't
that
hit in
you
the
will see
face,
literature documenting the use of
and
nicotine
he
for
didn't bring
suicide.
the right weapon. Oh my God, you
Dr.
guys!
Benowitz testified
Even he is
that a
confused.
Google search for nicotine,
Gareth's
will
like,
reveal
oh my God, I'm gonna have
scientific
to change
literature
my name to
validating the
Prison
use of nicotine
Pocket.
in suicide.
This woman is losing me. I should have gone with the dude.
Yeah.
Purpose, I think, Dr. Good testified something to that effect, though. But
And Dr. Benowitz also testified that if you want to commit suicide, the most efficient way to do it using nicotine would be an intravenous injection.
okay, interesting. Let's move on. Okay.
Dr. Benowitz talked about the way
What?
nicotine is metabolized. And he indicated that if someone tries to kill themselves, ingesting nicotine orally, it is not an effective way because the way the nicotine is
Okay.
metabolized, it has to go through the stomach first.
Okay, do you think Gareth
And people get
actually
sick and they
like
throw up. That's very
WebMD'd
not- They release
and
the poison
actually
from their
researched
body, and
this,
it's
or do
not
you think he
effective.
dumbassed
Dr.
his way
Bennett's
through it?
acknowledged the most efficient way
I
for
think
the
he
body to
just liked
metabolize
Columbo in
nicotine
some
for
episode.
suicide is via an injection. And that
This is the
using it as an
second
injection
time
is
that
a-
there's
using
been
it
an
via
objection during her
means you
closing
need a much
argument.
smaller dosage. Because if you're going to try to kill
At
yourself
least.
using an oral dose,
Right.
Here we go.
so-
No,
It's like fourth
another
or
one.
fifth.
Another one.
this is part of the evidence.
She keeps
Again,
trying to
if-
bang
if-
on
if
this
you kept
idea
it- if you
that
kept it in
and
a
he-
general sense, what you were doing, and that the most efficient way of doing it would have been by use of a needle as opposed to taking it orally. You're right. You would have thrown up and so forth. Keeping it in that general sense, the court will allow you to do that. Otherwise, I'm sustaining the objection.
Okay, well, Dr. Benowitz did
Ooh.
testify that the
Okay,
intravenous
that
injection
syringe had
was the
no
most efficient way of
needle on it. It was an
intravenous,
oral.
intramuscular,
Oh, really?
or taking
Yeah, it
nicotine
had no needle
oral
on
Was
it.
there
intravenous is
any?
the most
Wait,
efficient way
were
to
there any
commit suicide.
needles? Do you know?
I didn't see any needles, but the thing is that it is not hard to get in. It's California.
No, yeah, I know they hand them out.
Yeah,
like
but it
candy.
wasn't. It
But
was
if
just
it
like
wasn't
There
at the
wasn't a needle.
crime scene,
And
No.
But why did he have it with him? Here's the thing.
well, they found it
regardless-
outside. They assumed
Yeah.
it came from him, not to defend him, but
Yeah,
I don't know.
regardless, he still
is
was
weird.
laying in wait. So even if we take the supposed other murder weapon out, you still have the laying in wait. So
We do.
even if the jury's like, the nicotine thing is a bridge too far for
At
me.
his house.
well, okay.
Yeah,
but
that's not at the murder scene.
so you're saying what he went to go unalive her and he forgot to bring the method of
Needles.
unaliving her?
I
Okay,
think
and
that'd
then
be off-
he went with Plan B.
yeah, would that be off brand for this particular gentleman to have cocked it up so very badly?
Okay, fair.
Okay. However, but what the doctor had said, regardless of what this woman is trying to get at, what the doctor had said was that this stuff, you need so little of it to get into your system to mess you up or to kill you, that it would be, from what I could tell from what the doctor's testimony was, it would be like irrelevant whether it went into your muscle, into your vein, or
Okay.
in through your mouth. You swallowed it. Like you need, she would have needed to be 500 kilograms in order to be able to withstand that amount of nicotine that was there. So, and she's a tiny lady. So maybe it would have taken slightly longer, but she would have been.
Okay.
So really, for her to talk about whether or not what kind of method it would have, like, seriously. But yeah, I mean, he wanted to kill her. He could kill her. Like, he's much bigger than her, and
Also,
How much longer do you have? Kim?
silly. Whole
it's
thing
hard to say,
silly.
Honor.
Yeah, hurry up,
Go ahead
Elaine.
for the 5 minutes. Well, you know what, ladies and gentlemen, let's take a break down. Let's go ahead and take 15 minutes anyway.
No, don't give her 15 minutes. Oh, wait, they're taking a break? Oh my God, she keeps
Yeah.
babbling.
Go
So
and
do
sort
you-
your defense out, lady.
She doesn't
Just-
go that much
You just
longer.
go take a good hard look at yourself.
It's like throwing spaghetti. I
Philip
mean,
Nahn,
it's
who did a narcotics analysis.
Let's. So Mo, did you want to do the rebuttal tomorrow?
I can do the rebuttal after so I'll probably start at 1 after we do Nick and I do the Odinites kind of thing with the Delphi thing.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
like 10 o'clock California time, so you should be able to be live if there's a verdict.
Well, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking that would be early enough California time. I will have the actual party tomorrow because I can read dates like a genius. Sometimes.
Okay.
Sometimes I am. But yeah, I can definitely do that. And that way we have something to look at while we're doing verdict watch too in the morning, since, it's nighttime for EU and it's work time for
Yeah.
you. Though
Okay.
we do need to
Definitely.
work on signs for the for
Signs?
all of this. Yes.
Oh yeah.
Although guys, you know, she's doing a stellar job. I think, you know, I'm sold, you know, Gareth, freedom for Gareth.
Freedom for Gareth. He needs
Just
to
Free
pursue
Gareth
his comedy
Pursehouse.
career.
I know.
I know, right? We're all missing out.
I mean, his jokes could cause cancer. I mean, cure cancer.
Cure cancer, cause cancer. Well, I mean,
Cringe cancer.
cringe cancer. Yeah, I can't
Stage
believe they
10.
play his joke.
I can't
And
believe
he couldn't
she thought that was
control
going to be a
himself
selling point. Like
with
he's
laughter.
trying to use humor. I'm
I
like, no,
know.
there's a good way of using dark gallows humor that I'll allow.
Mhm.
And then there's this that should be punished severely.
Exactly.
How long is the clip you had queued up for the tranny thing?
Oh, it's not really a clip. I was just going to show her. That's all. So
Oh, okay.
no. Shizzy has a clip of it. If Shizzy were here. Because, yeah, he clipped it.
The narcotics analysis of the syringe containing the nicotine. It came back negative.
Don't talk when you're away from the mic.
However, it was run through this GCMS machine, which compares unknown samples to a library, comparing chemical properties of an unknown substance to the chemical properties of known substances which are preserved in a library. And when the results came out showing that there were no controlled substances, the other items were detected. And we're going to look at the big numbers over here, to the right, and this is, I'm showing you defense NN. So the second
Could you even make a
library
PowerPoint, like a bad one?
shows nicotine with the highest number of 97. And it shows other items as well.
No, Dave, not today.
Cotinine, which is a metabolite of nicotine. You can hardly say nicotine is an undetectable property.
Well, whatever we do tomorrow, I'll try and have a quiz ready for that one.
By the GCMS machine. And it's
What we're doing tomorrow, Sal? What we're doing tomorrow?
Control substances. Now, Dr. Wu testified about his analysis of the nicotine. This nicotine was analyzed by a lot of people. Dr. Bradley, first after LAPD got this library result, you remember Guy Holloman, who's the supervisor of Philip Nahn at the LAPD lab, suggested that the FBI do the confirmation test to determine what, in fact, was in the syringe, since LAPD did not have a standard or a sample by which to compare the nicotine. So they don't do that. So they sent it to the FBI on Guy Holloman's recommendation, and it was confirmed because that's what it was. So this is not undetectable. Now, the prosecution, in their examination of other witnesses,
No idea, Olin, right? We're trying to work that out. Thank you, Mads. I actually got to see it before I put it live this time.
But Dr. Wu explained when he testified, they were only testing for nicotine. And rounding up, they found that the liquid in the syringe contained 87% nicotine. What was the other 13%? Well, it wasn't confirmed because Dr. Wu was only testing for nicotine, but this was not a pure sample. So 13% of the substance inside that nicotine is still unknown to us.
Well, not
nicotine was
guilty
detected,
then.
and I hope we can lay to rest the fallacy of nicotine being this undetectable substance. The prosecution introduced evidence that Mr. Pursehouse had on his computer, or accessed via his computer, a device.
Are you drinking,
external
Brandon?
hard drive that had a file with the name Horphone on it. And the prosecution is trying to get you to believe that the naming of that file is evidence of his hatred and desire to kill Amie Harwick. The problem with that is that the naming of that file was done in 2012 and has nothing to do with Mr. Pursehouse's state of mind in 2020. There was a stipulation.
Stop moving when you lapel mics. It would cost maybe $100.
Was created in 2012. So that naming convention was in 2012
Or phone.
when Mr. Pursehouse and Amie Harwick split up, and he believed she had cheated on him.
Oh, I feel
The
terrible
prosecution
for
is
him.
trying to get you to speculate.
It's almost like you could go see a
between Amie
therapist.
Harwick and Gareth Pursehouse on the third floor of 2086 Mound. Unfortunately, the prosecution did not obtain the Nest camera audio and video from that evening. And the reason they did not obtain it is because LAPD officers, detectives who filed a search warrant failed to make a preservation request. And Google only retains Nest Video for 5 days on the type of account Amie Harwick had. You would expect law enforcement in investigating a crime of this magnitude would know that Google does not retain Nest Video indefinitely. And there is an urgency in obtaining this evidence, an urgency and an opportunity to resolve questions that are still outstanding. But the prosecution did not file that preservation request, even though witnesses such as Robert Koshland told them, hurry up and get that Nest Video. So when the prosecution claims that the evidence shows one thing or another, remember, it is their burden of proof. And if the Nest Video would have resolved some of these issues, the failure to get that evidence is on the prosecution. And any of ambiguities as a result of the loss of that evidence should be resolved in favor of the defense. I'd like to talk to you a bit about some of the jury instructions that you're going to have, and you've already been instructed on. I'm not going to go through them in detail, but just talking first about first-degree murder. The prosecution has the burden of proving beyond a reasonable doubt that the killing was first-degree murder rather than a lesser crime. And you're going to be asked to consider lesser crimes in this case. If the people have not met this burden, you must find the defendant not guilty of first-degree murder, and the murder is second-degree murder. Continuing on first-degree murder, deliberation and
Hang on,
premeditation.
I'll take away the
These are the things
overlay
the
for
prosecution
this.
must
Oh
prove
no,
in
there's no
order
point. There's a
for there
LLC
to be
thing
a
behind
finding
it.
of first-degree murder. The prosecution must prove that the defendant acted willfully, deliberately, and with premeditation. Willfully means he intended to kill. The prosecution has not established that Mr. Pursehouse went to 2086 Mound with the intention to kill Amie Harwick.
He just wanted to be a
That-
robbler.
He
He just wanted to
Deliberately.
burgle slightly.
That the defendant carefully weighed
Burgle.
the considerations for, I'm sorry, that should be and, against his choice, and knowing the consequences, decided to kill. And premeditation, if he decided to kill before completing the acts that caused the death. And then we're going to go on to the next one, which talks about deliberation and premeditation. And this is important because a decision to kill made rashly, impulsively, or without careful consideration is not deliberate and premeditated. So if somebody makes a rash decision in the heat of a moment, as opposed to having arrived at that location with the intention to kill, that is insufficient for there to be deliberation and premeditation. Let's talk about first-degree murder by means of lying in wait. The defendant needs to conceal his purpose from the person killed, wait and watch for an opportunity to act, and then, from a position of advantage, intend to and did make a surprise attack on the person killed. It is not sufficient to merely show the elements of waiting and watching and concealment. The prosecution must prove that the defendant did those physical acts with the intent to take the victim unaware and for the purpose of facilitating an attack. And the prosecution has not shown, beyond a reasonable doubt, that Mr. Pursehouse went to 2086 Mount Street in order to attack or harm Amie Harwick.
Yeah, it's been
Provocation for
inconclusive
second-degree murder.
thus far.
Provocation reduces a murder from first degree to second degree when provocation raises a reasonable
Hey
doubt
Rabbit,
about
is that the one we
premeditation or
played
deliberation.
earlier?
If you conclude
Provocation?
that the
From her,
murder was provoked, consider the provocation in
Amy's
deciding whether the
YouTube?
crime was first or second degree murder. And
What are they
say this,
claiming Amie provocated?
Provocation is not defined as some that does not require that the person be provoked in a way which requires them
Yeah,
to
the
act in self-defense. The type of provocation we're talking about
thumbnail
is
on
any
that
type
one is very
of provocation
strange.
that causes someone to get
Her
into
with
an
her
emotional
cat.
state. Emotional state that disrupts their
You guys,
ability
this is
to
some
premeditate and to
Grade
deliberate.
A
Going back to
crime BS.
Deliberation requires that
She
someone carefully
provoked
weigh the
Gareth
considerations
by not
for and
talking to
against
him.
its choice and knowing the consequence decide to kill. So someone who acts under the heat of a moment, as opposed to somebody who actually premeditates willfully and deliberately, is not first degree murder. Provocation to get to second degree murder. Provocation reduces a murder from first degree to second degree when provocation raises a reasonable doubt about premeditation or deliberation. If you conclude that the defendant committed murder but was provoked, consider the provocation in deciding whether the crime was first or second degree murder. The provocation, again, is an emotional state created by the circumstances surrounding the person's decision making. A killing that would otherwise be murder is reduced to voluntary manslaughter if the defendant killed someone because of a sudden quarrel or heat of passion. Heat of passion can be any violent or intense emotion that causes a person to act without due deliberation and reflection. So violent or
I'm
intentional
sorry, I thought he
are
didn't.
exactly the type of emotion.
I thought he
that
wasn't
cause
there.
someone
He
to be
didn't
considered
kill her. He
provoked
didn't touch
for
her.
purposes of
So how is he
second-degree
having
murder
emotions
and
and such?
voluntary
This
manslaughter.
is
Sufficient provocation may occur
so
over a
wild.
short or long period of time. So in determining whether Gareth Pursehouse was suffering under the type of emotional strain and emotional state of being that predated running into Amie Harwick, you can consider the totality of the years of burden he was carrying, all of the years of emotions he was
Yeah.
carrying, and deciding his
There's
mental
a fair
state.
few videos
and
there
finding
too,
that there
Robert.
was
Yeah.
provocation in this case. Well, sufficient provocation can occur over a short or long period
Christ's
of time.
sake, how
and
many
you're
times are you
entitled
gonna
to consider
object?
His state of mind, as he explained
Well,
it.
how
to
many
Amie
times is
Harwick
she going to beat
in
a
their text
dead
messages
horse?
exchanged.
True.
Well, she's been quite objectionable.
She's also arguing things that have no
Prosecution has the
bearing.
burden of proving beyond a
She's
reasonable
crossing a
doubt that the
line.
defendant did not kill
She's
as a
also
result of a sudden
she's also
quarrel or
blamed
emotion of passion.
Amie
If the
Harwick
prosecution
and
has not met this burden, you
it-
must find the defendant not guilty of murder.
Okay.
You do not, regarding the lying in wait special circumstance, you do not need to even
She-
consider. the
she's
special
arguing with
circumstances
herself.
If you find the defendant not guilty of first-degree murder and guilty of second-degree murder and voluntary manslaughter. The lying in wait
She's
special
contradicted
circumstance
herself
has additional
several
elements.
times
It requires an intentional killing committed while lying in wait.
and
And a
contradicted
person
their own
commits murder by lying
case
in wait when
several
they
times.
conceal their purpose from the person killed. They watch and wait for an opportunity to act, and then with a surprise attack on the person killed from a position of advantage, they intend to kill the person by taking them by surprise. So this requires that the person committing a surprise attack actually intend to kill the person. Here, we did not have a surprise attack. Here, we did not have the intention by Mr. Pursehouse
Yeah,
to harm or
online.
kill Amie Harwick. And finally, burglary also requires, in this case, that Mr. Pursehouse entered 2086 Mound with the intent to commit murder. Given that Mr. Pursehouse did not intend to commit first-degree murder, the only way
Look
you
at him.
can
He's
convict
like, I
Mr.
don't even
Pursehouse of
believe you,
burglary
lady.
is if you find him guilty of second-degree murder. If you find
he's
him
over
guilty
here
of
like,
voluntary
I am
manslaughter,
not
the burglary
smart,
count
but
cannot be found to be true. Finally,
he has
circumstantial
the
evidence.
face of Doug with
This is
the
important
cone
because
of
if you can
shame.
draw
Like,
two or more reasonable
I do not
conclusions
like the
from
cone of
circumstantial
shame,
evidence in this case.
but I don't know why
And one
I
of
am
those reasonable
here.
conclusions supports the finding of not guilty or an untrue finding. You must conclude the allegation was not proved by the circumstantial evidence.
She's on 1.5, Shelley.
And I want to talk
Does she
the last
believe
instruction
it,
about
crap?
flight, because the prosecution is claiming that Gareth Pursehouse, by running away from 2086 Mound, showed consciousness of guilt. And I want to talk about what flight really means.
Oh no, please tell
If
us.
Gareth
I
Pursehouse was
your
at Amie
definition
Harwick's
because
home
I'm
with
sure
the
it'll be
intention to speak to her
fantastic.
and
Hey,
not to harm her,
David, you're back.
and things went
Finish
terribly
milking
wrong,
your horse.
and she fell to her death, and he never intended to harm her. That would create a situation in which he would have a fight or flight
Oh,
response,
no shit,
a
Lolita.
typical physiological reaction
Seriously,
to any type of
he looks
stressful event, which is something we've seen in this case. Michael
like a
Herman had this response.
totally
He
different
ran.
person.
I believe the evidence supports the conclusion that Amie Harwick had this fight or flight response, and she ran the balcony railing.
Jesus,
And
Mary and
Gareth Pursehouse
Joseph,
is no
did
different.
you just say that
Having
she
things go
ran?
sideways and go end up with a terrible result. It's not inconsistent with an innocent state of mind to run in panic. But you also have to consider that actual professionals did not attend to Amie Harwick when they encountered her lying on the pavement. Actual professionals
1.75?
who were trained.
Oh,
Thank you
1.25.
very
No.
much, Mary. You can't
Did
just
not
take
attend
something
It's almost
that's
over.
flattered on
in a
the
way to try to
concrete
help with her
and
injury.
Let's make it like a
swipe her up
Benny
with
Hill episode.
spatula and take her like a
Were so
sack of
severe
potatoes
that
into
no
a
layperson could do
freaking
anything. And even the
paddy
paramedics
wagon.
acted
Are
very
you-
deliberately and cautiously in treating Amie Harwick. So it's unfair for the prosecution to only assume that Mr. Pursehouse's reaction in running from 2086 Mound leads to a finding of consciousness of guilt. Now, if Mr. Pursehouse had planned this, as the prosecution claims, you would expect Mr. Pursehouse
Mad
to actually
forever.
flee. This is a man with
for
means
18 years.
to be able to run from detection by police. This is a man with money in the bank. He could have gone to his brother's house in San Diego. He could have crossed the border to
Excellent
Mexico.
evidence.
He could have flown. He could have literally flown away.
Yeah, he's pretty terrible at every
And he did
single
not.
thing of criminology he's tried.
Mr. Pursehouse knew there were signs of forced entry at 2086 Mound. Mr. Pursehouse knew he was on the next door neighbor's Ring video. Mr. Pursehouse knew he had made a scene at the XFIZ Awards that was not going to go undetected if some harm came to Amie Harwick. And what did Mr. Pursehouse do? He stayed home. He didn't leave.
Called
He
his
waited.
girlfriend.
He waited for what he knew was coming, the inevitable arrest. He did not flee. Not only that, the prosecution is claiming they found evidence in his home to tie him to what happened at 2086 Mound. They found a syringe, the same type of syringe, in the kitchen. They found gloves, which they say to you today may be the same gloves. Mr. Pursehouse didn't dispose of this evidence.
Well,
If Gareth Pursehouse plan all
I'm
along
sorry that your
was to kill
client
Amie
is
Harwick,
terrible at
wouldn't you
crying.
expect him to try to evade the authorities instead of staying home, making no attempt to flee, no attempt to escape? He stayed home at the address on his driver's license where he was arrested. On February 14th, 2020, Gareth Pursehouse went to 2086 Mount Street because he lost control of his overwhelming emotions. Breaking into 2086 Mount Street was an impulsive decision. He impulsively broke into Amie Harwick's home in the heat of his emotions in a desperate attempt to talk to Amie Harwick. He believed there was only one way forward for him, to talk to her, to get her to release him from his agonizing pain of unresolved grief due to their breakup. He had regrets he needed to share with her. There were things left unsaid at the XBiz Awards that he still needed to say. He needed to be heard and understood. His actions were not carefully considered. Instead, his actions were the result of rash, impulsive, and erratic thoughts brought to the forefront by his emotional state. Her death was never his goal. Her death would not
Scout's honor.
his pain.
Yeah,
It only made it worse.
The
He
intensity of his
suffers so
devotion
much
to
from her death.
was terrifying to him.
He didn't
Aw.
mean to be.
We
Blur.
agree. Gareth Pursehouse had no business being in her home, but that doesn't mean he is guilty of first-degree murder or of lying in wait or lying in special circumstance.
Does anyone have the
Okay.
clip from Adam
Her
Sandler?
death
May
was
God
never
have
his fault.
mercy on your soul. We are
Her
all
death
dumber
would
for
not
having listened to
alleviate
you.
his
Yeah.
pain. He needed to talk to her. The intensity of his devotion to her was terrifying to him. We agree. Gareth Pursehouse had no business being in her home, but that doesn't mean he is guilty of first-degree murder or of lying in wait or lying in wait special circumstance.
Then
What
what's
likely
guilty
happened
of
that
having
night
too big feelings? He
is
just
that
loved too much.
When Gareth
He feels
was in the
too
house,
much.
Amie came home, and we don't know what time she came home. We don't know what time she arrived at 2086 Mound, and we don't know what time she walked in. All we know is she got a text message about 1:02, 1:01 a.m. But we don't know where she was exactly when she got that message. We do know her phone
Even
was on her
tried
bed.
falling asleep. He's like, I'm done.
We don't know where in her house Gareth Pursehouse was at that time when she was on the third floor. We don't know if he was downstairs and came up the main stairwell to the third floor. We don't know if he was already on the third floor. Nest camera video would have been helpful to make that determination, but we don't
No,
have that.
we already caught your suspect on
Michael
two
Herman
other videos.
testified
You really want three?
that he awoke to the sound of Amie screaming. And at first he thought it was a mouse. The screaming didn't stop, so he started to wonder something was wrong. So the only other time he heard someone scream like that is when somebody had seen a mouse. So he screams out as loud as he can, Amie! And then he says things change. Before, her screams were staying in one place. She wasn't being jostled. There was no movement. But after he heard Amie, then he started hearing the shuffling he described. He heard two bodies go to the ground. We don't know who initiated the physical confrontation.
Oh
You
no,
might assume
Amy
that
totally,
because Gareth Pursehouse
totally
was the larger
haymakered him
person,
first.
He did it, but we can't make assumptions when the prosecution's burden to prove this case beyond all reasonable doubt. It is just as likely, if not likelier, that after Amie had spoken to Michael Herman about this person, about increasing security in her home, and making Michael Herman aware that this person might be somebody to be concerned about, that they came up, that it was in her mind at least, that Michael Herman, by shouting up Amie, was on his way to come render her assistance. And she preemptively attacked Gareth Pursehouse in order to subdue him because she was afraid of him. Without an opportunity to know why he came, she preemptively attacked him. The struggle resulted from this interaction. We don't know how it began exactly, but we do know that she was screaming for quite some time, minutes, Michael Herman said. Well, he fumbled around before he screamed up Amie. And if Gareth Pursehouse had intended to attack Amie Harwick, why wait while she screamed? Why not attack her?
Thank you,
immediately?
Lesko Brandon, for
And
making
the
my
answer to
day.
that is because he didn't intend to attack her. Her screams, her fear, it's an understandable response. But that does not mean Gareth Pursehouse had any intention to harm her. In his voicemail, in the text they exchange, even in their conversation at the XBiz Awards, Gareth Pursehouse made no threats of physical violence against Amie Harwick.
He didn't threaten to murder her in front of witnesses. How can you accuse my
The
client?
fact is that he was triggered by this series of events, triggered to the point where he felt he had no choice but to go to 2086 Mount Street to show Amie Harwick in the most dramatic fashion he could. His pain was real, and
Can we
convinced
give
her
him the death
he needed to
penalty
speak to her.
now?
The evidence unequivocally shows that Gareth Pursehouse was a man in crisis. He was struggling. He was struggling to deal with the emotional fallout.
Just wait.
He was
Just
grappling
wait,
with
Brandon.
in the years after his breakup with Amie Harwick. And when he saw her at the XBiz Awards, that dam he had built to try to repress all of his
Or if
pain,
you start
and all of
effing
his
crying,
emotions,
I will go for
Seriously, how many times do I have to
And the
play this
floodwaters
clip,
were
for
released.
freak's sakes?
and he could no longer control the tsunami of his emotions.
The tsunami of his
Prosecution has not
emotions.
proven.
I feel like I'm in Twilight. Like Team Jacob, Team what's the other sparkly guy?
Michael.
That was his name?
No, I don't know.
I can't remember the other guy, sparkly guy, and they're like, but
Whose cat is that?
This is my emotion.
He
Mine.
was struggling to deal with the
Okay.
emotional fallout he was grappling with in the years after his breakup with Amie Harwick. And when he saw her at the XBiz Awards, that dam he
Yes,
built
yes.
to try to repress all of his pain and all of his emotions, that dam burst, and the floodwaters were released. And he could no longer control the tsunami of his emotions. Prosecution has not proven.
Are you
Gareth
singing
Pursehouse
along
would
with the
harm
music?
Amie Harwick.
Are you?
The prosecution has not proven he deliberately caused her to fall over the balcony railing. The prosecution has not disproven that Gareth Pursehouse was acting due to his emotional provocation, nor have they disproven he acted
know, right,
due to
Shelley?
his passion. For these reasons, we ask you to return a
I'm
just
sorry.
and proper verdict in this case. We ask you to find Gareth Pursehouse not guilty of first-degree murder and not guilty of the lying in wait special circumstance. Thank you.
Is she finished? Really?
Praise Lemmy.
Okay, hold on one sec.
Is she? Is she finished?
Hold on one second.
Okay.
I got something.
All right.
Just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points. May God have mercy on your soul.
Okay, a simple wrong would have done just fine, but
Yes. Oh my. Guys, she basically was like, you can't even really get him for robbery because he didn't even really go in there to kill him or kill her. Like, just for the what? Just I can't. Tsunami of emotion. He was an emo girl, 14-year-old hanging out at Hot Topic, waiting to get eyeliners and bigger gauges. He didn't. It was a tempest of emotion. Guys, I have to go work on dinner. It has been hilarious. I will put up the Jiminy grip flips. What was that? Just the no poo, the I didn't bring a good weapon. She wasn't unconscious.
He wasn't guilty because she didn't shit herself.
Yeah, just also he was telling funny jokes. Let me show you his funny jokes again in case you didn't laugh. Let me show you a photo. Let you see him laugh at his own terrible jokes that
Mhm.
include golden showers because that's appropriate. You know.
Chandler Halderson's
And
closing was better.
yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
Then let's just, go ahead and blame the victim. She withdrew her love from him. He was a tempest of emotion, and we can't say that she didn't open the door to the balcony herself. Like,
No.
and while we're at it, he didn't go there to murder her, so really you can't get him for burglary. I mean, let this man go. Dang it. Oh my gosh.
He wasn't even buying it. That's the thing. Like when the defendant's not even buying it,
Yeah, he looked up
then
there like, "I guess we're gonna go with this?"
sure,
Like,
okay.
he's like, it's a bold strategy, Helen, but I guess we're gonna go for it on CNN, the Ocho, Court
Yeah,
TV.
cool. All right. Well, I can't stop
I
you
will
now.
I will see you guys later. I will put up, the state's rebuttal because, pregnant prosecutor looks like she is about to have a field day just peeing in this lady's cornflakes, and I am here for it because she has the petty bring it on, I am going to love just devouring your little soul and ruining your
Mm.
life,
Mhm.
smug petty face, and I am here for it because I may or may not have worn that face sometimes in my life, and yeah. When you
Okay.
deal with something this stupid, it is.
I'd say
Well,
worse.
no, she's not that bad. So Mo, you're going to do the rebuttal
And I'll
tomorrow
do a little
morning.
bit well, tomorrow at 1 my time, 10 their
Oh,
time.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
So because California and time and distances and such, physics and math,
Mm,
it'll work out.
yeah.
So
And that's
yeah,
actually like midnight my time.
yeah.
Yeah. So if a verdict comes along whilst you're doing that, you'll be able to cover that.
Yes.
And then you,
Me.
Sal,
Yeah, it's hard to figure out.
I know. I should just reverse our cameras.
yeah, you, Sal,
I'm still
are
working
going to
with,
then do something else.
I'm still working with Farrell to confirm everything.
Yeah.
Hopefully doing Matthew Moore.
Yeah. So you can keep an eye out for verdict as well.
Yeah, and we can pop in and do it.
Yeah.
If it happens when we are. I think it'll probably happen in the morning.
Well, I mean, it should happen in the morning, you would think.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not really a whodunit. I'm surprised actually it didn't happen already.
Yeah.
But yeah, it should happen whilst Mo is streaming, you would think.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
correct.
It's pretty common first thing in the morning after they sleep on it.
Yeah,
I do
you wouldn't
hope
think.
he cries big snot bubbles. I need that in my life. Look, I'm the same.
God.
I don't need much. I don't need money. I need Gareth with a snot bubble. It's not the material things that I desire. It's
Never change, Brandon. Never change.
Never change.
I will see you guys later.
All right, yeah. Go.
Okay,
Get
you gotta
off
go?
here.
Bye-bye.
Well, phrasing, I
Bye.
know. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye, Mo. Thank you.
Love you, Mo.
All right. So if verdict happens whilst you're streaming, DALI, would you
Yeah.
mind please try and message me, send
Sure.
something across the earth, whatever it is you have to do to try and wake me up if I'm asleep, whatever, and I'll try and jump onto your stream.
Okay.
So we can watch the verdict together. And then, fun. Guess what's happening? Hold on. This, hang on, just pop it in chat. Ba, ba, ba.
Brandon.
Brandon's being naughty. Dazzle, dazzle, holders and trial,
Yay.
rewatch party and pub quiz, guest and barbecue. Yay. Yeah. After that, so after Matthew Moore, Matthew or Matthias?
Matthew.
Oh, right.
It's just spelling, not weird. Well, different. I kind of like his
Different.
spelling because my name's Matthew, so
Yeah.
I'm kind of jealous.
You're jealous.
Yeah.
So I'm having a lot of fun with the Holderson trial and the quizzes and stuff. And I'm working in the background on a couple of big.
Seriously, no idea how much he's working in the background. Like
I'm working in the background on some big streams.
I'm jealous. Like I'm envious of her work ethic.
I have some big streams coming up. One of which is
Are you ready to announce?
Not the Australian one, but I have. I'm definitely got a Becky one coming up.
Okay.
Going to be going over some Murder things soon. I've got a couple of Australian cases that I want to cover really shortly. I'm not going to go into details, but in the meantime, for lives, daily sort of lives, I'm really excited to be doing Chazzle Dazzle. Because I find that really entertaining. And so, yes, tomorrow after DALI and Beryl are done with Matthew Moore, we'll be doing Holderson again. So that will be 7 p.m. Eastern, I believe, which is 9 a.m. Australian. And I don't know what the times are for the rest of US or UK. Check your local guides. Click on the link and just press the notification
4
button.
p.m. my time, so 7 Eastern.
Oh, Brandon. Yes. Make sure you get in there. I'll try and make it a little bit shorter so that people can stick around through dinner and stuff and do the pub quiz at the end, because I know people like to stick around for the pub quiz.
Yeah.
But it's also evening and you've got other things to do. So I'll make it more like 90 minutes in total. You need to sort of pay attention to the whole lot of the testimony in order to answer the questions. So just trying to get the format right at the moment, but yeah, it's great fun. So do come along. See ya, I'm bronzed. Which button do you flick? I would think you'd know that, Brandon. Really? Do you need to go over to Dr. Amie Harwick's page?
Go ahead and ask David.
Videos.
Go ask MLS. Because I've been trying to ask him where babies come from for ages, and he never answers me. He's always like, "Well, the question I missed, go ahead and put it in the chat," and then I do again, nothing.
He needs to go to Dr. Amy's page as well.
I know.
Okay, so we are going to press the little button that gets us out of here. Where'd it go?
Well, she can't find it either.
I can't find the button either. Oh, dear. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. It's been epic, absolutely epic. Did not think that the closing arguments would be quite this crazy.
Bad. I mean, bad in a good way.
Bad.
Like,
thank you. Have a great day. Have a great evening. A great
and
morning.
We'll be back
great
tomorrow.
night. Whatever it is for you. And we'll be back tomorrow.
Bye.